Well, hello, everybody. Happy Thursday. Almost the start of the weekend. Wow. What's going on? What's going on? Anything crazy? I hope everyone's having a good time. I hope life is exceptionally blessed for all of you. Hashtag blessed. But yeah, I feel the same way. Every day is a beautiful day. I wake up, I've got my lovely cats, I have my health. I am getting older every day though, unfortunately, but you hope that your wisdom ages as well. We got average profile picture, the one and only APP. What's going on? It says, does it mean anything that the stream is quote unquote YouTube featured? Well, firstly, thanks for being here, APP. I hope you are doing well. I think that's a good thing. I'm trying to think, there might have been a few times where that's happened. I could be wrong. It's a little bit of like the luck of the dice, maybe. I don't know. I'll take your word for it. I hope that means something positive, like maybe YouTube is promoting my videos more often. It's, I've got a finicky relationship with YouTube, you know what I mean? Sometimes they bless me with good algorithms, good viewership, and other times they just tell me to piss off. So hopefully we're on their good side. Hey guys, hey, stop, Kimbap, no. Speaking of being on good sides, my cats were just fighting right now, so just give me a second to, hey, Kimbap. Okay, crisis, I think averted, possibly. APP also says, I have worked, so tell King I said hi. I will let King Kruk know that you said hi when I see him. Thanks. All right, guys, welcome. This is actually the 191st live stream. We've been doing this for some time now, so, it's kind of nice to hit certain milestones. We hit the 10K milestone on YouTube. I guess we're going to be hitting 200 live streams very soon. That's the only other milestones we got right now. But yeah, well, I guess another personal milestone, we finally finished the 5,000 photos of Uganda. So we are now progressing to the 20,000 photos of Tanzania. Before we do that though, let me just kind of briefly introduce myself. So my name's Yobel. I go by YobelPrize. I do travel and wildlife photography and filmmaking. I also got two cats that if they decide to join me and not fight each other off screen, sometimes they'll hop over to one of these beds, so then I can switch over to them and we can say hi, see what they're up to. But for now, you guys are stuck with just me. It is what it is. I've been live streaming now for about a year in terms of when our first stream was, I think was a year ago. But yeah, like my main focus these days are around YouTube, trying to build up that YouTube channel. So I mentioned we hit that 10K and then hopefully we'll continue to build it up. We got Katzenellen Boggin in the chat, says, hello, is the Twitch working? Oh, you know what? I was having some internet issues earlier, so I hope things are fine. Everything looks okay. How's it going, Katzenellen Boggin? Thanks for hopping in. The thing is, I don't always see the notification sound, but I shall stretch as commanded. So thank you very much. I gotta do a little bit of arm stretch, so, and crack my back. Oof, all right. How's it going, Katzenellen Boggin? Thanks for hopping in over on the Twitch side. I think it's functional. And then, of course, all of you on YouTube and Kick, thank you. Just a quick little, so then I started multi-streaming about a year ago, but my main focus was on YouTube. So these days, what I try to do is I'm trying to make videos. That sounded painful. Oh, could you hear the cracking? I guess the microphone's pretty powerful. I used to be able to do it crazier when I was young. But yeah, as I get older, I should probably avoid doing that, right? Although I've heard that's like a myth, that cracking doesn't actually... We grew up being told by our parents that when you crack your knuckles, when you crack your back, things like that, you were gonna have chronic arthritis when you got older. But it turns out our parents are full of shit. Who would have thunk? They spewed so many random things. What was I told? This might be a Korean thing, like an Asian thing, but growing up, when I turned on the fan, my mom would tell me to not go to sleep with the fan on in my room, like the ceiling fan, because I think there's some kind of Korean urban myth or something that when you have the fan on in your room, it would suck all the oxygen out of the room and you would die in your sleep. Like, I'm not even shitting you. I think it was something to that effect. So anyways, we've been spoon-fed a bunch of random stuff, you know? Kessanella Boggin says, yeah, I heard it. Yeah. Oh, the cracking. Yeah. Well, I'm alive, so. But yeah, thanks for being here. We're gonna do a lot of photo edits today, so I hope you guys are buckled up. Crack your backs, your knuckles, because we're in for quite a grind. We got freaking 20,000 photos to get through. And I think today we're at least finally gonna, we started a little bit. We're gonna review some of the wildlife photos, so it should be a little bit more exciting. We got Halabash. I like the name. Halabash said on Twitch, my dad used to say that bubblegum was made of tar. No way. Wait, hold on. Let me read that again. Sorry. My dad used to say that bubblegum was made of tar and that it would never go out of my stomach. I heard the last part. The last part was thrown at us constantly as kids, that like the gum, you know, if you swallow the gum, it would live in your body forever and you're stuck with this forever. I just assume it's not true. I wonder if there's like a kernel of truth to that. I never heard the thing about tar. That's like an extra. Damn, that's a... Your parents weren't messing around. I guess they really didn't want you to chew gum. I don't know what they have against gum to the point where they would tell you just straight up poison. But you know what would be the biggest irony and hypocrisy, Hala? Is if your dad chewed tobacco. Because is that tar? Is tobacco tar? What is tobacco made of? Hold on. Let's check this out. What is tobacco made of? Tobacco is made from the dried and processed leaves of tobacco plants. But is it like cigarettes where they just throw everything inside of it? Or is it healthier? Hold on. Does chewing tobacco have tar in it? Or do cigarettes? Because I don't actually know what tar is. I have like an assumption. Tar is only created when tobacco is burned. Oh, there is a relation. Okay. So cigarettes have tar, but chewing tobacco does not. Oh, right, all right. Okay, then my point stands. Turns out, what if your dad is a chronic smoker and he's been telling you, you know, you can't chew bubble gum. It's got tar in it. It's like, Dad, what the hell, man? What do you put in your mouth, huh? Anyways, Halabash says, nah, he didn't, but that would be hilarious, yeah. Well, thank you, Halabash. I haven't recognized your name before. We are a small streamer here, so I tend to notice when there are new names, so I appreciate you hopping in. I don't know what brought you to my channel, but thank the algorithms for getting you there. So I hope my introduction gives you a brief understanding of who I am. Most of the time on my streams, I am editing. So I am editing photos or videos across my travels. That is kind of my focus. So I've been a photographer as a hobby for maybe like 10 years, something like that. Then I started treating it a bit more seriously. I got into like wildlife photography, but always as like a passion. And then about 3 years back, I decided I'm just going to commit full time of like my full energy, my time, and my passion into this pursuit. Around that time, I was starting to also build up my Instagram channel. I was posting a lot more video, like short form content, like Instagram Reels, things like that. Some of them went viral, which was a nice feeling, but like, you know, it doesn't mean much. But the point was I was seeing that some of the things that I capture was resonating with, you know, certain people, right? With a decent audience, let's say. 1 second. Let me introduce my cat because she is sniffing her way over here. Oh, look at that. So speaking of being a photographer, and as I now get more into video stuff, oh, she's choosing not to come over. What the hell, Nala? You gotta make up your mind. Anyways, and then let's see if my other cat shows up. Not yet. But yeah, so then I started to do some short form reels. I started getting into video a bit more, and video I found was super fascinating. And I was starting to realize there's a hierarchy of what my passions are. And photography was not actually my main passion. Traveling was a higher passion to me than photography. So then it turned into like, okay, well, if traveling is a higher passion, then I don't have to call myself a photographer. I can explore other skill sets as long as it's in the name of enjoying my travels more. So then I was like, oh, I might as well learn video. And then just to continue with that, I realized there's one level higher than traveling for me as a passion, which is storytelling. Anytime I can somehow make a story be conveyed through the things that I create and share it with an audience, and hopefully they have a positive response to it, that was something that definitely fueled or drove me further in terms of like satisfaction, in terms of like, doing something artistic. So then I was like, I need to learn videography further, because then if I can do both video and photo, it just makes me a better storyteller. So anyways, that's kind of like summarized of the things that I focus on. Halabash says, cute cat. Yeah, she is. Wait, where'd she go? So I got 2 cats. Oh, she did join. Whoops. So this is Nala. She is the older of 2 cats. So she's the queen of the household. And then the prince, the young prince, he kind of F's around. Sometimes he did join us yesterday, but we've got a bed ready for him in case he decides to be a part of the family, These cats. Halabash says, I don't do photography, but I'm enjoying seeing photographers do their thing with editing, like seeing the raw and what it can be turned into. Well then, Halabash, you've come to the right place, because that's what I've been doing. I've been stepping away from the video edits because I have a lot of photos I need to get to. So for the past 3 weeks or so, we've been just going steadily across all the photos I've captured from Uganda. So I just came back from 2 months of traveling back in the start of the summer. So I was doing a photo tour, so I was bringing some guests with me to spend a number of days in Uganda for some wildlife. I did a project with CNN Create, which was really cool. More information will come out eventually, but then, yeah, that was a really cool project. And then I was a photography instructor for a bunch of safari guides in Tanzania for, I think, around 10 days. So a bunch of photos, including, like I said, we had about 5,000 photos from Uganda. So these are just some of the photos that, again, we edited throughout the stream. So one of the fun things that I've been doing is sharing with you guys, the whole story, from start to finish, right? Yo, we got Cyronius in the chat, and Katsanella Boggin says, you're reminding me I still need to buy a variable ND filter. Ooh, I wonder if I think I have a link. Did I do it? Hold on. !Freewell. Damn it. I should have so Katsanella Boggin, in case you are wanting to purchase, oh, you know what? I can at least do this. Hold on. Gear. I think if you go to my website, which is just linked on the chat, there should be a link to the Freewell 3 to 7 stop variable ND plus color polarizer, which is the filter I've been using across the entirety of these past 2-month travels. I am a huge fan of it, so FYI, if you would like to support the channel and also purchase yourself one of these gears, it would help me because I think it's like an affiliate link. So, Cyronius, my man, how's it going? And let's see, Halabash said, I've been oddly interested recently into learning editing video. Had the Final Cut Pro for years and never learned it. Ooh, Halabash, you've come to the right place, all right? Because that's all I do. I do photo edits and video edits on stream. On the video edit side, I actually did a bit of Final Cut, and then I shifted all the way 100% completely to, that's an oxymoron. I shifted 100% to DaVinci Resolve. And so when you tune into these streams, I also show the entirety of how do I edit a raw footage, how do I edit the raw photos to get it to the final stage. So there's nothing hidden here. I enjoy sharing the entire process. So for example, you can see this is the original photo of the shoebill stork. And then after all of the editing process, this is what we ended up with. And all of this is on my live streams. If you go to my YouTube channel, they're all linked in my VODs. And I just started putting together a new series on Instagram and YouTube Shorts, where it's a kind of like a time-lapse series. So you can kind of see the exact moment when I captured the shot, then showing a time-lapse of me in my studio, as you see me now, doing the editing time-lapse, and then revealing the final image at the end. So I hope there's enough content there to kind of feed the masses, hopefully give you a good sense of what I work on. So here's the before shot of the shoebill. And this one I was really excited with in terms of how the editing turned out. A bit more grungy, heavy metal kind of a feel to it. I don't know if dark metal, is that a word? Gun metal? But yeah. Cyronius said, expensive. Well, it is pricey. I mean, variable ND filters are definitely pricey, but you get what you pay for. When it comes to things like lenses and variable NDs, I do feel like it's best to invest with good. It's like a basic, what is it? Economics 101. About inferior goods, right? If you buy a cheap pair of jeans, you might end up spending more money on jeans in the long run because they keep wearing out and you gotta purchase new ones and they, whatever, rip. Whereas if you just spent that one time on a super expensive, high quality jeans, that could last you years. So it's all about, being proficient with your money, which I don't always do. Katsanella Boggin says, I need a 95 millimeter thread. They do have that. They have the 90, I think I actually have. I have the 95 millimeter, the 77 and the 82 millimeter threads for the filters. Cyronius says, your bag/gear is ready. Oh my God. Well, thank you, Cyronius. I'm supposed to chat with Swiss Army later tonight after the stream. And then after that, it sounds like I need to sync up with you. Because there's a few things I mentioned I think I need to purchase, including maybe that Starlink. And it's just a question of, should I have it shipped to you or I don't know. So thank you for the update, my man. Daytor in the chat says, hello everyone. Guten Abend, Daytor, all the way from Germany. Hollabash says, heck yeah, that's an awesome shot. Oh yeah, thank you. Sorry, I forgot about this. Also, one thing to keep in mind, I can speak a mile a minute. I can speak for an entire mile, if that makes sense, which it doesn't. And also I have ADHD undiagnosed, but I've self-diagnosed myself. So the problem is I will oftentimes forget what I'm supposed to be doing. So I will be hopping around different topics. But before I forget, let me just keep moving through some of these photos. These are all photos that I captured in Uganda. I mentioned I took a couple guests with me, photographers. And so the aim of this trip was to make sure my guests had the best experience, that they ended up getting the best shots of whatever wildlife we were looking for. So this started with the shoebill stork, then it went into the chimpanzees, and then the gorillas at the end of it. So these are just some of those photos from that first few days when we were looking for the shoebill stork. Incredible, impressive animal, by the way. If you want to see more also, I keep recommending, because obviously I'm pushing people there. I think linked, well, this is separate, but I have a new YouTube video that I just linked in all, it's pinned to all the chats. It's 2 minutes long, and it's my breakdown, my thought process of why the 85 millimeter lens I believe every wildlife photographer should have in their bag. In some ways, I almost want to say it could be my favorite lens for wildlife. It's a weird thing to say because, of course, I've got my beautiful 400 millimeter f2.8 lens, and the shots you get with it, it's just like unmatched. The quality, everything about it, you get your money's worth. However, the 85, the thing that the 85 gives me that the 400 cannot is the close proximity to the animal when you take the shot. With an 85, if you're getting a portrait of a wildlife, that meant you were up close. And that comes with it. You know, it's not always conveyed in the image, but obviously personally, living in that moment, it feels more meaningful. It's more of a thrill, exhilarating, you name it. So for many reasons, I found that shooting with an 85 for wildlife, it's kind of made me more addicted to wildlife photography. So yeah, anyways, I made a 2-minute video where I kind of convey my thoughts while showcasing some of the best images that I've captured with the 85. I hope you guys check it out. But also, Hollabash, since you are new, the other thing I'll suggest to you is on my YouTube channel. Well, firstly, I hope you subscribe to my YouTube channel. We just crossed 10,000 subs, so it's a good feeling, but we've got a long ways to go. But on my YouTube channel, I'm on episode 2 of a new travel series of the 2-month trip. So all these photos you see right now that I'm running through, these are going to be showcased in these YouTube videos. So anyways, I published my 2nd episode. I'm working on the 3rd and 4th episodes, which will take us into chimpanzee territory, which are these photos that you're seeing right now. So feel free to check it out. Let me know your thoughts, all that fun stuff. But yeah, there you go. What else is there to share? Oh yeah, let's just like speed run through the rest of these. And Cyronius, thanks again, man. I'm very excited to sync up with you about that bag. So just for context, shout out to Cyronius, who is I feel like technically you are, when I say technically, I mean like technologically. Talk about one of the smartest, you're like a freaking Albert Einstein in the Twitch tech, all the things related to tech stuff that I know of. So shout out to Cyronius. He is a Twitch streamer, IRL photographer. So if you want to check out content where you actually have someone going out into the world to do some photo walks, capture whatever they see, and then see it live during the stream, like seeing the images, where it was captured, all that kind of stuff. He's got the tech set up to be able to do all of that. So shout out to Cyronius. And now Cyronius is helping me put together a similar tech kit so that I could start doing IRL streams. Now, I live in Dubai. I'm originally from the States, but I've been in Dubai for a number of years. It allows me to travel to a number of these countries quite easily. And as part of that, especially since I do wildlife photography, it wasn't always an obvious next step that I would be able to live stream in the wild. But it was always a thought of mine from years back where I was like, oh my God, you know, there's like when you have these moments, you're on a Jeep safari, or when you have an elephant walk right up to the lodge and you're standing face to face with this elephant. You have these moments where you're like, man, if only I could go live and show people this experience and have everyone experience it together in real time. Of course, the big issue for that is the fact that there's no network connection in a lot of these, you know, countryside out there, national park, you know, in the middle of nowhere environments, right? All you got is the animals and you and nature. So the problem always was that how can I share this if the network is spotty? Well, thankfully, over time now, in the past, even just like literally in the past couple years, tech has gotten so good. Even places like Masai Mara, which is one of the places I'll be testing out very soon, it seems like they've started to build out cell towers and network connections even within the national park itself. Separately, there are some private game reserves that have their own cell towers. I've been starting to see as I'm doing research. And then thirdly, you've also got inventions like Starlink, right? The ability to essentially hook up a satellite basically to your vehicle, and all of a sudden you're beaming network straight to a moving car. That's the big hope, and that's the main thing that I'm going to be testing out very soon. So Cyronius has built out a few of the necessary parts to make that possible. Then we're going to rig up a Jeep, like a safari Jeep, with a number of different tech and gear and cameras and stuff. And hopefully very soon, in a few months, you guys will be able to join me live when I'm in a safari chasing after those, I don't know. Ideally, we'll see some cheetahs, leopards, lions, elephants, giraffes, rhino. I don't know if we'll see a rhino. But we're going to hopefully get some really cool hunt moments as well, and just like show you guys a little bit more a glimpse into what my experience is like. Yo, thank you very much, Halabash. I appreciate it. Thanks for following me over on Twitch. I'm glad I've got you as part of the community. Halabash, if you are a fellow, I think you mentioned you're trying to get into video edits as well, feel free. I'm going to put the link in the chat. You can feel free to join the Discord. I'm slowly but surely trying to build out a community of fellow artists, photographers, videographers. You don't have to do any of that, really. But if you want to support me, that's one way where you can join. You'll get notified every time I go live. But then also you can feel free to share your photos, your videos. You can, you know, get advice from each other, things like that. So hopefully we'll build out a proper photography community that way. So yeah, I appreciate it. Oh, and as I'm speeding through these photos, I say speeding, but I've been going kind of slow. One of my favorite photos is coming up right here. So this shot right here, I'm super happy with how it turned out. Again, the fun thing is if you join these live streams as you're a part of this community, these photos, you literally get to see how it was made, right? So you can see here, this is like the before and after of the shot. And this was all done during a proper live stream. And you can see here, like even from the original file, how much I ended up cropping in. I struggled. This one I was really proud of because I did struggle initially with figuring out how to compose this image. When I shot, you know, with my 85, you had all this space here, and then you had the chimp lounging. And I was trying to figure out like, what is the best composition? I ultimately ended up breaking the rules that exist, right? Which is about the whole rule of thirds and look space and head space. And I decided I wanted to put the chimp's head closer to the right side of the frame. For whatever reason, I just thought that the composition just looked a bit better to me. But anyways, after that and doing all the different edits with my presets, with using Dehancer, this is the final look. Very, very happy with it. And so this is definitely something that at some point I want printed, put on the wall, that kind of stuff. So anyways, and this is the wide angle. This also looks really nice, but I do like the punched in shot. A few more chimps. This also probably will be, I kind of go back and forth, but this is definitely in the top 3 to top 5 at least, of the best photos or my favorite photos from this trip. Just a really nice portrait style of this chimp, looking very human-like, you know, lounging against this like, you know, low branch root or whatever it is. You know, it's very, very human-like the way it's posing there. So very happy with the edits. You can see the before and after. So I shot this very dark, underexposed. One thing I was testing in my recent trip was apparently the phrase is exposing for the highlights. I think that's the phrasing. So basically, that's what I was challenging myself across this recent trip. What that means is, instead of shooting in auto ISO, I usually shoot full manual except for ISO. I set the ISO to auto. Instead of shooting with auto ISO and just trusting my camera to give me a balanced lighting composure or whatever, I chose to shoot in manual ISO. I think I just normally had it set to 100. And then from there, I would play around with my settings until it was underexposed. But then the part of the image that looked properly exposed was basically the brightest part of the image. I think there are other ways to do this. I think maybe another way I could have done this is spot metering. So like instead of doing a matrix metering across the sensor, if I just chose a single dot, then it's just like before I take the photo, I'm assuming I would just need that wherever the sensor or the meter spot is on the brightest part of the image. Anyways, there's different ways people do it. I was just trying to challenge myself. So the risk you run into when you do that is, of course, you can end up with completely unrescuable pixels because it's now pure black. But thankfully, I don't think I ruined too many shots, and I had enough space to play with it, as you can see in this final composition and the way it was graded. But yeah. So anyways, just more behind the scenes of the thought process there. So then we did some chimp shots, and then finally for Uganda, after we did the drive into gorilla territory, we eventually was able to do the gorilla trek. And so let's see, these are just shots from the road. So while I have been focusing a lot on wildlife, I also really do love doing cultural photos, if that makes sense. I like doing people shot. Not necessarily like posed portrait fashion shoots, things like that. I just enjoy capturing photos of locals from my travels, right? Like ideally candid shots. So anything that kind of shows you a day in the life of what a local lives in the places I'm traveling to. And usually doing my best to show them in a good light as opposed to like, showing them in a terrible way. But yeah, just gives you a bit more of a glimpse in terms of like, here's what it's like to live in this part of the world, right? So that's kind of like the secondary part of what I enjoy when it comes to photographing on my travels. So thankfully I had a bit of practice here. I had a few moments to capture some kids and locals as we were driving to our lodge. So these are some, again, the before and afters. And then we finally got to the gorillas. So then I got to edit some of these photos of the gorillas. Again, you can see some of the before and afters. And then I think the hero images from this session was definitely the baby gorilla, as well as this series here of the baby and the mother together. So I think there were like 3 images of this that I focused on. So we got the baby and the mom kind of hanging out together. So those are great. I'm happy with these shots, but the best photo across this series was of just the baby on its own. There was a point where the baby started climbing one of the small tree branches or something. And so I was able to capture quickly some moments when it was on that climb. Let's see where it is. Got the Ranger, silver back, close up. Here it comes, right here. So this is, right now, it's kind of in the top. For some reason, it might even be my favorite photo of the entire trip so far. There's nothing exceptional about it in the sense of like, I don't know. I just really liked how I did the composition on this. I like how the light is bouncing off the parts of the face. I like the look on the face. So to me, I just like the faded green and the lighting and the colors here. So right now, this photo continues to grow on me as one of the ones I'm most proud of in terms of the edits. And then we had, what was the final shot? Some shots of locals again, and then the landscape, and then the drive back to leave Entebbe. So there you go. Halabash, if you're still here, I hope you enjoyed that speed run of what we've been working on for the past 3 weeks. Is all of these photos, which is about 150 to 200-ish images from the original 5,000 set. The show must go on though. So as I mentioned, we are now working on close to 20,000 photos from the next part of my trip. So from Uganda, I traveled directly to Tanzania. And in Tanzania, I spent about 10 days or so to teach about 20 safari guides on how to do wildlife photography. So it was all like, you know, they were doing this like months-long training session. Shout out to Asilia Africa. That's the, they're like the safari operators across East Africa. And they run a number of these luxurious kind of safari camps. But they're also known for doing a lot of conservation work, a lot of sustainability efforts. And as far as I know, I think they're the only lodge or the only company that does this, where they run this like multi-month training session for all of their staff. So whether that's like kitchen staff all the way to like the safari guides themselves. And as part of that, they're teaching them everything from like how to do safari walks, study the stars, you know, whatever, the typical stuff. But then they also started doing photography training. And I became the instructor. I did it last year and I did it this year. But basically, the thought process being, a lot of the guests who come to do these wildlife safaris tend to be, not always, but there's a huge proportion of them that are photographers, wildlife photographers, you name it. And so it was a thesis or a hypothesis, or what do you want to say, that it would behoove the guides to better understand the world of photography, the language of photography. So when they have these guests who come here with very particular needs, they're looking for this type of shot, they need the driver/guide to know exactly what angles to position the vehicle in, to know what exactly they're looking for, all of that. It behooves the guides, if they want to be considered the best of the best, that they understand photography to know the guest language. So that's where I came in. I was there to kind of teach them how to shoot, and it was really fun because a lot of them never get the chance to, you know, take photos themselves. They're usually the guide, the driver. You're not supposed to be the one taking photos. So it was really awesome. Just personally speaking, I found it a thrill to see them enjoying so much, them being the photographers. And they, you know, they're using all kinds of fancy cameras, like really powerful lenses. And so we're going to go through all the photos they took as well, because they took a number of really amazing shots. So anyways, so I was there to teach them and kind of train as much as I can of like, here's what a photographer looks for, and here's how you can be better than to understand their needs. So yeah, most of my time was not spent taking photos myself. So while there might be a few shots that I'm super proud of and like I caught a really cool moment, my priority was more to make sure my guests were taking good shots. So just keep that in mind, you know. But yeah, we got plenty of photos here to review. Halabash says, yeah, it's super cool. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. All right. So yesterday we haven't had time to edit any photos because we've mainly just been trying to go through the images to see which ones to filter through. So I'm continuing with that. We're just going to go through these images and start to track which ones that we want to bring forward. I don't know if that makes sense. Hold on, let me rephrase it. Before we start editing the 20,000 plus photos, I'm not going to be actually editing 20,000 photos. I'm going through one of the first steps, which is kind of reviewing each image, seeing which ones are keepers. And so then I bookmark them. Usually I start by bookmarking the keepers as a 2-star on Lightroom. And then I take all the 2-star images and then I denoise the image with Lightroom, like the built-in Lightroom effect. I found that it's really powerful. So even though I use Topaz at times, I found that denoise is quite powerful for this. So then after I do the denoising, then I 3-star the image and then we drag it into a separate folder within Lightroom and I start working on them eventually, and until we get it to a 4 or 5-star image. Some of these images you can see here I've already edited, but that's because I had to, once I came back home from this trip, I needed to work on these photos to send to that lodge, to Asilia Africa, right? Because that was part of the deliverable as me being the instructor. I wanted to make sure they had access to all the best images so that they can use it. So yeah, so we're gonna, some of these you'll see are already edited, but even the ones that are fully edited, they're not fully edited because I've changed up how I edit in the past 2 months. And what that means is I've been using Dehancer. So I'm gonna plug Dehancer again because I did work with them previously on Dehancer for their video grading, like the color grading on the video side. It's been exceptional. Every YouTube video you see me post, and since I worked with Dehancer, it's all being graded through Dehancer. And then the really exciting thing is that I started testing it for my photo editing process. So if you stick around as we edit some of these photos, you'll see me do my own presets. So I apply my own presets, and then towards the end, I usually will put it through the Dehancer system, which is a plugin to Lightroom and other softwares. And that's what gives me the final look. And I'm super happy with them. If you like the images I was showing you earlier from Uganda, just know that's how I edit. So anyways, right now let's just keep going through these images. Now, while we're doing that, what I like to do is, obviously I could just constantly talk, and that's fun. I have no qualms with that. But I am a multitasker by nature. And what that means is, while I'm doing this, I'm also trying my best to keep learning different things around my pursuit. So that could be around photography, that could be around filmmaking, around video editing. It could be around even just how to be a YouTuber, because all of these are important for me. So what I do is, as we do these kind of edits or whatever I'm working on, I'll be watching some YouTube videos. So I've already got a few lined up that I think will be interesting for me to be listening to, taking notes on as we edit. But before all of that, actually, where are my cats? We still got one of my cats. The other one's gone. Okay, before all of that, let me first turn down the AC. It's getting a little hot in here, and I think I forgot to turn down the AC. So give me a second. Okay, I found Kimbap as well. Kimbap is hanging out in the living room, looking like a boss. Oh, look at this girl. Sometimes she like does a cute thing where she sticks her hand out, or her paw. As you can see, she's got her paw extended there. Can I touch her? Good girl. Okay. What a pretty girl. I think I disturbed her too much though. What is she doing? Okay, anyways, let's get cracking. All right, what do we got on the docket? Stamp of approval. I don't think you understand the pure genius of this scene. There's a scene in Fantastic Mr. Fox. Okay, that's an interesting one. All right, let's just start watching in the order I've got it here. So we're gonna watch this video breaking down a scene from Wes Anderson's Fantastic Mr. Fox. Let's check it out.
Where did he come from?
While we edit.
Where'd you come from?
Where did you come from?
Sometimes the questions that we ask others are the ones that we most want to answer about ourselves. Fantastic Mr. Fox, the 2009 stop-motion film based on the classic Roald Dahl novel, is a wonderful 90-minute...
Okay, quick pause, and I will be autistically pausing throughout. Because again, the whole point of this is for me to like pause anytime I have some insights or things I need to learn. One is that as I have these headphones on, when I'm hearing this guy speak, his S's are super sharp. And I think I have the same problem because I haven't figured out exactly how to add the right filter onto my mic for my stream so that the S doesn't like pierce your freaking ears. But unfortunately in this YouTube video, I am hearing that sharp S there. For what it's worth, I don't know.
It's long. This scene is 90 seconds. But for Wes Anderson, it's the one that matters most.
There's a scene near the end of the movie that's where they see this wolf, and
oh my god! I just realized. Wait, is that Wes Anderson's voice? I don't think I've ever heard him speak before. Wow.
Really has nothing to do with the plot at all. It's a totally isolated thing. But I feel like it's the climax of the movie for some reason.
And he's not alone. Almost everyone I've spoken to about this film brings it up. The wolf scene.
I haven't watched this movie in a long time, but I definitely agree. This shot right here, the scene, it does sit with you in the silence. If I recall, I don't remember much about the movie, but I do remember there's this moment right here, and then he sees the wolf off in the distance, and they just like stare at each other and then move on, is what I remember. But I just remember it was definitely a very surreal, deeply emotional feeling to it. But I think it was because it was like super, you were expecting dialogue or you're expecting something. I don't even know if they had a soundtrack, actually. I forget. But it was just like this moment of calm. Anyways, yeah.
You could cut it entirely, and the plot still works. And yet, symbolically, it's the moment the whole film has been building towards. It's the scene that stuck with audiences for almost 17 years. But to understand why, you first need to understand why Wes Anderson made this film, how he did it, and what Fantastic Mr. Fox is actually all about.
It's a book I read as a child, and I've loved it all my life. You know, I have the same copy that I had when I was a kid.
I didn't know Fantastic Mr. Fox was written by Roald Dahl. That's interesting. Roald Dahl was like, I used to put him in like, I think for like college applications and stuff when they asked back in the days, like, oh, who's your favorite author? I think I would put down Roald Dahl. I really enjoyed his books growing up. I think to whatever extent you can attribute an influence to your personality and your creativity or anything else, I feel like Roald Dahl was definitely a strong influence because like his books were always so fantastical and like vividly imaginative. So when I used to read these books, you definitely felt transported into like this whimsical, fantastical land. And he had a really, clean way to share those stories, and his imagination is fantastic too. So anyways, that was like my feeling. So he was like my favorite author growing up, but apparently I missed this one, or maybe I forgot about it. And then as an adult, I started really appreciating Neil Gaiman. Neil Gaiman, I used to call him the adult version of Roald Dahl, was how I thought of him. But anyways, yeah, okay, let's keep watching.
Kid, and I've kept it on my shelves wherever I've lived. And at a certain point, I decided I wanted to work in stop motion, which is like a very old-fashioned kind of a filmmaking technique. But I wanted to do a stop motion movie with fur, puppets with fur, and this is the right book for that.
The right way to tell a story is sometimes a way you've never tried before, even if you have no clue what you're doing.
I had no experience doing anything with animation I didn't know anything about stop motion.
I just knew I liked the way it looked in movies, and I liked the textures of it.
Hollabash says to remove sibilance. Ah, that's the word. Sibilance. Sibilance. The S sound. I think also it's something to do with like maybe I have to be further away from the mic or the direction that the mic is facing me, perhaps. Like I think if I talk directly this way, is it worse or better? I don't know. Hold on. Also, I think I need to turn something down over here. To remove sibilance, multi-band compressors are great because they don't just lower everything at that frequency like an EQ. There's one for free from Tokyo Dawn Labs. I highly recommend. Well, thank you for the recommendation. Let's go check this out real quick. Tokyo Dawn Labs. Okay. Tokyo Dawn Labs. VST, VST3, AU, and AAX bundles. All right, so I'm going to put this off to the side so that I can research it after the stream. But thank you, man. I very much appreciate that because I can imagine it can be super grating to the ears. So like I'm not here to make things sound terrible for you guys, and I want to improve my audio quality anyway. So thank you. All right, let's keep watching this, and we're going to keep reviewing my photos.
I had no idea how I was going to go about it.
Right, off we go then.
Off we go.
Stop motion is one of the most artistically creative but demanding techniques in filmmaking. Each second of footage standardly requires 24 individual photographs. Each and every one taken after puppets and everything around them have been moved or manipulated by just a couple of millimeters.
Most of the movie is animated with puppets.
Hollabash says yours isn't at all noticeable or bad, to be honest, though. Okay, perfect. Well, that's good to know. I did have some people help me out on a stream months ago with setting up all the stuff. So it should definitely not be terrible. It could be improved, I'm sure. One thing I don't like, though, is sometimes I can hear my lips smacking, or I can make different random sounds. And I think because like if I hear other people, if I'm watching someone, let's say if I'm watching a YouTuber or live streamer or whatever, and I hear them drinking, like if they're drinking something near the mic and you can hear the gulping sound, it triggers something in me. You know, like there's something about it that's like, oh man, it makes me uncomfortable. So I'm trying to avoid it myself, but you just never know what gets through.
It's like this, which the animators move just one bit at a time, and we would have many units working simultaneously, each with a different animator doing a shot.
And of course, before the animation can even start, everything needs to be designed from scratch and by hand. And being Wes Anderson, he had a very particular style in mind.
Wes has very strong ideas. He's a designer as much as he is a director of the film. He has such a clear
We've been having this conversation about who is the best director. And I think for a while, because of all the hype surrounding Christopher Nolan, his name is always at the top, right? And then I was talking about, I think Denis, I never know how to say his last name, Denis Villeneuve. He might have to be at the top for me, just because, you know, if you look at the breadth and the depth of all of these guys, for sure there's arguments for every one of them. But then, like, right now, Dune Part 1 and Part 2 have been like almost near perfect to me when it comes to like what I look for in a movie, the emotional draw across every scene, the acting, the music, everything. So to me, it's like, yo, that's a damn near perfect series so far. And, you know, he did like Sicario and he did a bunch of other things. I'm like, okay, maybe he's at the top. But then Christopher Nolan has just has done so many iconic stuff. So it's like, okay, maybe he's at the top. And then I forgot about Wes Anderson, because it's like, I think sometimes kind of maybe bucket him into just like this quirky, you know, specialist of some sort. But like his stories are very much, you know, as I think about it, it is like a continuation of Roald Dahl. He's like the director video version of the author, where it's like his stories are very whimsical. It's very fantastical. It transports you into like these weird alternate portal universes or worlds. And then it's like, yeah, if you think about it, obviously he's known for a certain style of like the center shots. But then I forgot how impressive these stop motion animations are. So like for him to be able to pull these types of movies as well as like the live action stuff, I feel like that's got to say something for being all-time greatest. Yeah,
direction on the way he wants things to look. So I had to sort of take his unique, sort of dry, slightly adult kind of vision and make it into a stop frame world.
We all know about the Wes Anderson visual style, but what did he do as the director on his first animated feature?
We recorded the voices in kind of an unconventional way, which was we went to a farm and kind of got a group together. And
You really cuss you cuss with me? Cuss you. How'd you like your cussing paws ripped off? I will pass you in.
We did it all out in nature. No one's ever done anything like that. You know, we're in different barns, different parts of the farm, different atmospheres to get different sound quality and different feel when you're performing.
Wes's dream was to keep the actors as close together as possible with one microphone and have them run around and act out these scenes so you could get people out of breath, overlapping each other. Things that happen in real movies that you tend not to see typically in animated films because things are done so separately. If the foxes are digging a hole, Wes got us on the ground and actually had us digging in the ground.
Wes Anderson has his own distinct way of doing things, even when it comes to something he's never done before.
The way I directed this film, I only spent about 1 week a month on the set in London. The rest of the time...
Okay, good news, as I'm kind of briefly looking through this, good news is I have already done a bunch of filtering before, in the sense that like I've already kind of gone through these images to find the ones that were keepers that I wanted to edit further. So if I assume that, I should be able to speed run this a bit more. It's a question of, do I trust myself in what I skipped before and would I skip it now? I'm not sure. Hollabash says, I gotta head out for now, but hope the stream goes well and can't wait to see more. Thank you very much. Thanks for the follow, and thanks for being a part of the community now. I hope to see you again. I won't be streaming. I usually try to stream Sundays through Thursdays. So I won't be here tomorrow or Saturday, but then I hope to see you starting on Sunday or anytime you feel like it, man. So thank you. Appreciate it. So with that in mind, I think I should feel confident enough to just kind of scroll through these. Instead of like looking at this image by image, I might just kind of scroll through it like this to speed up time. I really do want to get to editing some photos today. So yeah, that's what we'll do.
I was in other places, often in Paris, with my editorial team and my storyboard artists and a computer system that we set up so I could look through each camera on the set. It let me look at more things.
Saroni says, I posted your stream in the PhotoFam Discord and the screenshot was so poorly timed. The face you're making is hilarious. Oh man. Well, there are rare times where I look amazing. Listen, we're not here to be a model, okay? But let's see. Where's this image? Copy, link, copy. Let's put this on a full screen without any warning. So whatever this is, oh, hope it's not that bad. Oh, okay. It's not that bad. I just look more Asian than expected, I guess. Can you believe my eyes are fully wide open right there? You just, wait, let me zoom in. Can I zoom in on this? Oh, there you go. I'm glad you caught me while I was wide awake. Damn, that is talk about falling into the stereotype. That was good. You know what that reminds me of? There's like a funny there's a funny video, probably like an Instagram reel, where, oh man, I'm gonna butcher this, but it had something to do with, you know, the whole trend recently of everyone talking about watching the Odyssey in IMAX versus normal screen. And so then, you know, because obviously with the IMAX you get more full everything, and then the widescreen you only get a little bit sliver of it. And I think it has something to do with, like, you know, people are comparing those two, and then there's like some Asian dude who made the video, and it's like his perspective was like it was always the same, which is just like a you know, a thin line of point of view. Anyways, we laugh at those things, you know, it's all in jest. Thanks for sharing. I'm smiling.
In the course of the day, then I could.
Oh, and thanks for sharing that in the Discord as well. I appreciate it. I appreciate the, you know, because I'm not the best at marketing myself. So, you know, it's like, my God, I suck at it. So I need the help.
Any other way. I could just electronically move from set 22 to set 19 to set 12A, but it was sort of like a command center.
I've never freaking heard Wes Anderson speak, and now I feel more he sounds a little, I don't mean this with any offense, he does sound a bit quirky, slightly, you know, it's like when you think of a typical genius, he kind of sounds like that, right? And I mean that in a positive way of, like, you can almost tell that his brain works differently. It's funny, I'm like saying no offense at all, and then I'm saying stuff that sounds offensive, but no, I just like, anyways, it's interesting. I can finally put a voice to the genius.
Units going at once, that's insane. I'm accustomed to one, and that's usually completely overwhelming.
Part of the challenge of this job is trying to communicate his unique sensibilities to the animators so that we're making a Wes Anderson film in every way.
Wes obviously had his idea of how he wanted the shot to be. So how it sort of worked was he would do these videos of him acting out the script, basically. So he would play the part.
The custom mind?
It was usually quite clear as to very precise sort of facial mannerisms or gestures that the animator could then work with and pick out, you know, sort of key elements that he wanted in there.
With the incredible art of stop motion and the wonderful weirdness of Wes Anderson being as interesting as they are, why are they important in understanding the significance and lasting power of this guy? The mechanics of stop motion show us just how much work goes into every second of this film. On a good day, this crew produced 30 seconds of footage, so even a sequence as short as the wolf scene took days to complete, before accounting for puppet and set design. It earned its place. It doesn't advance the plot, but it's very much meant to be there. And we all know the person who fought to make sure it was.
You know what? I'm going to watch Fantastic Mr. Fox tonight or over the weekend, whenever I have time. I think this is the one I should watch. It's been a while.
The directorial decision Wes Anderson made was in service of this whimsical naturalism. The production design, the voice acting, the physical animation, all have authentic texture. The same sincerity was there from the start, and how he and Noah Baumbach expanded the story from Dahl's original novel.
I started working with Noah Baumbach on the script, and I had an idea of where it could start.
I knew we were going to have to expand the book significantly because it's very short. And as we got going, we just sort of started dreaming up new characters and new ideas.
Quick pause. I forgot about this image. Not this one. This one. This one, actually, I'm very excited to put this through Dehancer and just like see, because it's been a while. Keep in mind, like, again, when I was editing all these photos, I usually spend a long time on each photo, but because I had somewhat of like a deadline in my mind of like I wanted to send these photos to Acilia as soon as possible, I did speed run through my top photos. So now it feels better to be able to kind of, after having done that, to pause and hopefully as we go through this second cycle, find ways to improve some of the top images or what else we can change with, like fresh perspective. But this one for sure, I was super happy with the direction that I took with it. Because it's like a bit more abstract, I guess. Like here you can see the original shot. Is it this one? 256, 25. Oh, okay, hold on. Let's create a copy. Great. So this is the original photo. What did I shoot this in? This was... So everything shot with the Nikon ZR. This is with my 400mm lens with the teleconverter turned on. So it was at 560mm, f4, ISO 180, shutter speed 1/1250. So shot of a lion from quite a distance, super far away, plus I had to turn on the teleconverter. But thankfully the lion himself is fairly sharp, or nothing like noticeably blurry. At that distance, this is the best I could hope for. But also when you look at the landscape doesn't say much at all. Like it is kind of interesting to see the scale of how tall the grass is. I guess that is interesting. But in terms of like the excitement level, this is probably low on the, like, this is a very boring, it doesn't draw much emotion. So at first glance, this didn't look like much of a photo. I think I bookmarked it though because the lion was at least a bit sharp. And there was a lingering thought that like the tall blades of grass behind it could be interesting from a scale perspective if I could figure it out. Anyways, those are the thoughts. But then from this, ultimately after doing all the whatever edit process, I ended up landing on this where we cropped out any of the sky. So you don't really see where the tall grass ends. And I'm glad I didn't skip over this photo because this one I really do like. And I think it has something to do with, I do think it has something to do with the tall grass, because it's not often you see something like this being so tall, like from a scale perspective. You're imagining this would be like trees that are this tall, but these clearly look like huge, like tall, I don't know what you call these, stalks, blades of grass, right? It doesn't look like your typical trees. So I think to me personally, it's kind of a bit more unordinary. And then once you crop out the sky, you just don't know where the grass ends. It almost looks like a whole wall of just made out of nature. And then, of course, I wanted to crop it in a way where the shadow still tells the story. So we can see now I've accentuated the shadow being cast by the lion. I've increased a bit more the lighting on the right side. And then I darkened some of the edge, so the top left and the bottom right. And I think the thought process there was I just wanted to add a bit of balance. So like everything's kind of going in this diagonal direction in the way I see it, like from top right to bottom left. And so I just wanted to darken those sides. So anyways, I did end up liking how this photo turned out, but I also ended up creating like a black and white version, which I personally probably prefer. But either way, once we get to this point, I am curious how I can improve it with my I don't know, with a bit more time, and then also as we, you know, put it through Dehancer, we shall see. So anyways, quick pause there, but that was definitely one of my better photos from the session.
Scenes, but it was always our guiding principle that we were pretending to be Roald Dahl.
We spent time at his house where we were writing, and a lot of those details of his life sort of found their way into our story and into his character. Dahl probably wrote Mr. Fox to be an animal version of himself.
The cunning protagonist was a very personal creation for Dahl, reflecting his own mischievous nature and fondness for outwitting pompous authority figures. And I think in the process of expanding the story, it became quite personal for Wes Anderson too.
I got more and more invested in it than I expected to be. It became more and more personal, and I always felt we were trying to do Roald Dahl, but I also thought we're finding a lot of room to invent our own things to go in this.
Wes Anderson really transformed the story of Fantastic Mr. Fox, adding that authentic texture to the narrative and characters. His version isn't just the tale of a clever fox outsmarting 3 mean farmers. It's about the conflict of being a wild animal in a corduroy suit, trying to find the right place between who we're supposed to be and who we actually are. Mr. Fox previously had a more traditional profession.
I used to steal birds, but now I'm a newspaper man.
Being a good husband and becoming a father meant a more risk-averse career. He's articulate, well-mannered, and a little smug, despite harboring quiet doubts about his work.
Does anybody actually read my column? Your friends ever talk about it?
But among his civilized interactions with his estate agent and lawyer, we catch glimpses of another side, his wild side. He's got 3 paws in civilization, 1 always in the wild. From the beginning, a specific and personal fear of Mr. Fox's is established.
Wolf? What wolf? Nothing?
But when asked directly, he's adamant it's not actually a fear.
Are you scared of wolves? Scared? No. I have a phobia of them.
This distinction might mean more than he realizes. Mr. Fox is
I guess that is a good line. Fear? No, I have a phobia of them.
dissatisfied with domestic life.
Honey, I'm 7 non-Fox years old now. My father died at 7.5. I don't want to live in a hole anymore. And I'm going to do something about it.
But his initial solution to move above ground doesn't address the real inner struggle he's contending with.
Who am I, Kylie? Who am I? And how can a fox ever be happy without you'll forgive the expression, a chicken in its teeth?
One last job, the triple header, is what Mr. Fox really needs to feel whole again.
And so it begins.
The heists are a way to reclaim his wildness, a part of himself he buried to become a better husband, a father, a newspaper man. But it's a life that has consequences for his family, his whole community, and for himself. When confronted by Felicity, his defense is a moment of real honesty.
Because I'm a wild animal.
And her response is equally as honest.
You are also a husband and a father.
Neither of them are wrong, and there lies the problem. Mr. Fox gave up a large part of himself to live a civilized life. And even when the yearning for his wildness eventually drew him back in, he felt like he needed to keep that part of himself separate through secrecy. But when it all comes crashing down, as it literally did, he's forced to confront his defining internal conflict, being a wild animal in a corduroy suit. The irony is that denying a part of himself didn't make it disappear. It resurfaced in the very things he was trying to protect. Doubts about his work, distance from his wife, and a struggle to connect with and understand his son. Ash lives in the shadow of his fantastic father, and more recently his cousin Christopherson, a meditating whack-bat prodigy who's just a natural-born athlete. The very thing Ash is desperate to be. But Ash,
I guess he's just different.
And really wishes he wasn't.
I'm not different. Am I?
He wants to be fantastic like his dad, but his struggle is realizing that being fantastic doesn't mean becoming someone else. Accepting that was always going to start with his dad accepting him first.
Ash, I'm so glad he was you.
Once he gets that validation, he can tap into the athletic, wild animal craziness he's been searching for, and finally get his hands on a bandit hat.
Here, I'll put this bandit hat on.
But his is different. It's got stars on it. But Mr. Fox can only give Ash that validation because he's finally beginning to understand and accept himself. After being drowned out of his victory feast by Bean's very alcoholic cider, he has a realization in the sewer. The answer to his inner conflict.
Okay, I know I said I was gonna watch Fantastic Mr. Fox again, but now it's like this guy's sharing all the key parts of it. Which, I mean, I've seen it already. But, okay, anyways.
Isn't to choose between the two sides of himself. It's to accept there's just one. And denying any part of who he is only damages Mr. Fox as a whole. His wildness is both his greatest strength and his greatest source of insecurity.
Foxes traditionally like to court danger, hunt prey, and outsmart predators, and that's what I'm actually good at.
His master plans come naturally to him. He's undeniably talented at being a fox. But somewhere along the way, being fantastic became something he needed to prove.
I think I have this thing where I need everybody to think I'm the greatest, the quote-unquote fantastic Mr. Fox.
If he isn't fantastic Mr. Fox, then who is he? Felicity knows who he really is.
We're wild animals.
I guess we always were.
She can accept that he's a wild animal, but that doesn't mean she has to accept everything he does.
But I shouldn't have married you.
Damn.
She's not asking him to be less wild, just to understand that being wild doesn't absolve him of being a husband and a father. Self-acceptance isn't self-justification. It means you can stop pretending to be someone you're not and take responsibility for who you are. And once Mr. Fox stops fighting his nature, wildness becomes the thing that saves them.
I also see a room full of wild animals.
Every animal gets to play to its own strengths, and together they outsmart the farmers. Ash doesn't need to stop being different. Mr. Fox doesn't need to stop being wild. They just need to stop treating those parts.
Quick pause. One thing I really like about, you know, when you shoot with these kinds of cameras, it is always a fun feeling, a really nice feeling when you see how much is hidden inside the raw file, you know? You have this shot here of the two guides, and this is how the raw photo looked. But then once you bring it into Lightroom and you play around with it, you realize, like, you know, when you shoot with these cameras with a higher dynamic range, you get like so much detail that's actually there. What originally looks like it's just like a white sky. There's actually a lot of color, a lot of depth that you can play with. So these are always fun moments with like different cameras that you have when you can see how much is rescued. But yeah, no shade to shitty cameras. But I remember, because I think with the Sony a6000, that was the one I started with. The chance of, you know, being able to rescue so much like this was a bit harder. And then once I got like the Nikon D810, and I was, especially since I was starting to do more like landscape stuff, it was like, oh my God, this is incredible. What? And also with the D810, I remember, I don't know why cameras don't do this these days, but actually I think the Z9 does this, but the D810 had, the base ISO was ISO 64. And apparently there is a significant difference between ISO 64 versus 100. So you just get like a bit more range, is my understanding. But anyways, the point is, like, shooting with the D810 for landscape was like, it was such a treat. Okay, anyways.
Themselves. There's something to overcome. And then, Mr. Fox comes face to face with what he's really been running from. I'm sorry it took a while, but there was a lot to establish. Of course, he insists he isn't scared of wolves.
Scared? No. I have a phobia of them.
Fear is a natural, healthy response to danger. A phobia is something deeper, more irrational.
I have a phobia of wolves.
The wolf is the final test for Mr. Fox, the resolution of his journey. Wildness in its rawest form. No suit, no newspaper, no family. Just a wild animal, and a part of himself he's terrified of. But instead of running, Mr. Fox tries to communicate, searching for some common language.
Canis lupus. Vulpus vulpus.
Oh, they did speak.
Where'd you come from?
He asked the wolf, but it feels like he's really asking himself the same question.
Who am I, Kylie?
Where did this part of me come from? Why have I spent so long being afraid of it? Eventually, Mr. Fox raises his paw, and the wolf raises his paw in return. It's a moment of silent solidarity between the two, of acceptance and understanding. It's the moment Wes Anderson's whole film has been building towards. Mr. Fox doesn't need to conquer his wildness, explain it, or even use it to pull off another fantastic caper. He just needs to recognize it.
What a beautiful creature.
Being comfortable in your own skin, or fur, is a process. For Mr. Fox, now when he looks in the mirror and sees a wild animal in a corduroy suit, it's a little easier to keep a straight face. At some point, maybe he won't feel the need to turn away.
This concept of this character being sort of obsessed with being a wild animal became more and more a part of our version of the story. That doesn't come from the book.
Right.
That comes from our personalities, I guess.
In telling his favourite childhood story, Wes Anderson made it entirely his own, through the meticulous texture of stop motion, his distinctive directorial process, and an expansion of Dahl's story that gave it a far deeper emotional core, one that reached its final climax in a scene that had nothing to do with the plot, but everything to do with the film, when Mr. Fox encounters the wolf.
That ended up being kind of what it was all about for me anyway. This sort of guy in corduroy who doesn't want to lose contact with his wildness.
And maybe what's more interesting than its importance to Mr. Fox is its importance to us. We seem to like confronting human nature through animals. Maybe it's less of an affront to see our contradictions in a fox than in ourselves. But the encounter with the wolf can be universally understood. There's an innate, harder-to-name essential part of ourselves, one we might bury to fit in with what the world expects of us. And it can be scary, even irrationally so, to confront it. But maybe, if we're brave enough to accept all of ourselves, we might find our own wolf a little less frightening, and maybe even beautiful too.
Good job. Stamp of approval. What do we got next? Green of Summer.
I used to think
Sony FX5 and DJI Pocket 4P lie to you. Ooh, let's watch this. Because I am considering getting this DJI Pocket.
dynamic range was the cinema spec. I used to think dynamic range was the cinema spec. If you had that, you had the edge. I have come to realize that only dork muffins eat dynamic range for breakfast.
All I want is the perfect camera. All I want is the perfect camera.
Okay, a bit of a ranty episode today. We'll do some tests. I will switch into the most dynamic range we could ever have. In fact, I watched one video that was all about dynamic range from Chagall. What the hell happened to you, by the way? Makes the best videos ever made, and then I like to disappear and do real work. I'm filming for clients and making money. Ooh, look at my money, Mr. Camera Boy. So like, he makes this one video and he's like, all about dynamic range, and it's funny because he was saying like, it doesn't really matter much, dynamic range. It's like, you're grading it anyway, you're crushing the files, like who cares? But towards the end, he was like, but if you really want dynamic range, the best and cheapest options are the Fuji X-H2S and the Canon C70. And it was like, those were like DJI sensor, and Fuji films in like 14-bit or something, and it's like way more dynamic range. So I'm like, that's all I heard. I was like, I'll be back. Went to the Canon C70 store. That doesn't exist. And I bought myself one and a Fuji X-H2S, and I was like, cinema's mine, bitch. And I tested them, first the R5 II and the Z6 III, and Fuji crushed them both, and Canon crushed the Fuji. So he was right, and that was the most dynamic range ever. But is that the cinema spec? There's something else to that. It's not just, oh my God, I have more dynamic range, therefore this is more cinematic. So DJI Pocket 4P is coming in to this conversation with 17 stops. So it has more dynamic range than my Fuji. But if you ever did a side-by-side, I swear I'll do it one day, if I ever get my hands on one. You're gonna see that the Fuji looks super cinematic and awesome, and the DJI looks like a pocket phone bitch. And you're not cinematic at all. I was just clickbaited into another video. Brandon Lee, he was like, most cinematic pocket cam, period. I'm like, okay, let's see. I'm like, I see a bunch of very clean looking horses, and like That looks happy and fun. I'm not seeing the cinema, where's the noise grain? That's not how you say that. Film grain, bitch. I'll have a LUT pack before you can even think of not clicking on it. So it's like, it wasn't cinematic. It was well shot and perfect. Brilliant, good for you. I skipped half of it because I was so out of the movie theater by then. Couldn't even taste popcorn if I tried. So right now we're just on the Fuji X-H2S with the 23mm 1.4. Little glimmer glass on there. Should have took that off just to make a point, but I didn't. I forgot. Now let's switch to F-Log 2C, which is like the most dynamic range ever. F-Log 1 already was super high dynamic range, A7S III level for full frame. And then they came out with a second version, F-Log 2. And then C just made the reds a little less saturated, un-Panasonic-like. So let's switch to it and increase our dynamic range. Let's see how much better we get. So now we have way more dynamic range. You might see less clipping in lights. There could be softer highlight face roll-off. The shadows of my shirt are now lifted while lifting your spirit, by the way. And you may notice that, this is not better, really, is it? It might be, and I might just be like, wow, that's so much better. That could happen, I'm aware of that. And when you go outside, it's like, okay, wow, look at that. I'm not clipping the sky and I'm exposed, and it helps. Dynamic range is pretty cool, but there's something missing with two cameras, Pocket 4P and Sony FX5. You have a much better dynamic range than usual, but you're still clinical hell. Extramuse reached out to me saying they're gonna send me their 2 Pro, which is basically a Pocket 4P. It's the same exact thing, likely the same company. I didn't even know that. I was just like, oh, that's pretty similar. That's weird. No copyright strikes on you. So they're going to one day, but right now they're saying there's delays. Whoops. Sorry, seems like everyone else has one, but whatever, they're holding my version off right now, but one day I will see it, and I will prove the madness that Fuji's better. I bet you the Luna looks better. Just every pocket I've seen versus the Luna, I prefer the Luna image. Yes, I'm a Insta360 shill bitch, but I like what I see. It's like warmer, better exposed face. It's just like happier face. Fuji Film Sims, it's like, Luna's better. But every chart would say the opposite. Look at this. Left brain. Carve out the left side with an ice cream scoop, you piece of shit. It's just marketing. That's all it is. Like, they reached some interesting dynamic range spec somehow with low-fic technology, whatever the hell that is. And it works, but it's still over-sharpened and over-saturated and digital looking. It's not like, oh, this is like a Blackmagic OG. Oh my God. OG has way less dynamic range, but it's a filmic look. A special sensor, the Fairchild company, they need to come back in business and save us from the giants. But if they don't, we're stuck with this on paper dynamic range that doesn't equal the cinema. Your movie sticky floor, what happened to it? Where's my pop on the floor? Excuse me, can you clean this? I don't want him to. I like the theater. So all your stupid tests where you have a window and you're gonna open it, it's like, oh my God, bro, you have no dynamic range. Did you know that? Just thought I'd let you know. Wow, that does not look right. Huh? Oh, welcome to the cinema, by the way. So now, oh, mister, I'm in the shade. Look at my window. I'm winning. I win in the end. Fuji always wins. So we stopped it on down. We brightened the light. We're bringing the background into your heart. We're in manual focus because I know Fuji at this Tony-a-church will just shrink in on you. I'm not gonna lie to you, there's something special about the Canon C70 image, and it is the dynamic range. That's why it's so good. But that doesn't mean your Pocket 4P with more dynamic range looks better. It's not better, it's worse still. But like on a chart, your chart looks better, but the C70, God, I missed that thing. I looked back, all the gifts and all the things I've bought and sold, there's only 2 things that I just really regret selling. The Canon C70 and the Fuji GFX 100S. And the Fuji was medium format. It just looked so ridiculously stupid. Medium format with these like Tony 0.95 autofocusing Canon EF lenses. It was like, oh my God, this is fun. That, and it had terrible dynamic range. For a medium format, like it was a video afterthought. If Fuji ever does a low megapixel medium format, look out. DGO, medium format, low megapixel, I can't even imagine it in my mind. I would faint. Even if I was dreaming, I would be sucked out of the dream into hell where I belong. So it's like that and the C70, it's just, you can't beat that C70, and it's probably because of the dynamic range, but the skin tones were good. The internal NDs, those could be useful at times. The autofocus was good enough in here, but you go outside, then you lose everything. But like with the DGO, the super dynamic range, you lose the frame rates. Nothing ever does like above 4K 60 with this super DGO. So as long as you're happy with that, that's cool. But like the Pocket 3 has like so many marketing gimmicks. They're like, we have 17 stops of dynamic.
Wait, he said Pocket 3?
Range. So many marketing, happy with that, that's cool. But like the Pocket 3 has like so many marketing gimmicks. They're like, we have 17 stops of dynamic range, 4K 240p, and a 60mm lens, and none of them work together. You gotta pick and choose one or the other. It's not that, 17 stops without the telephoto or 4K 240. Okay, so we get rid of that. I can do 4K, not with the telephoto. Don't quote me on that. So it's like there's a lot of picking and choosing over there in the DJI factory. But our little clipped highlights, the end of the world, I just clipped from here up is now zebra clipping. And we're friendly shutter speed now. I chose wrong. So it's like, oh no, this is unwatchable now. It's unwatchable for many reasons, but not because it's clipping. But is this shot the end of the world because the whole window is now clipping? Oh no, he doesn't know how to expose his face and the window. You're right. You're partly right, mostly right. We're shutter 500 now. I don't know what I'm doing, but the point is, dynamic range is awesome, but X-Trans sensor technology is way beyond LOFIC. Canon C70's DGO way outmatches the Sony FX5's version of it. It's not the same at all. C70 is like, wow, that's filmic. Even the C80 can't match it. C50, not even close. C4 doesn't even exist. FX5, you're a expensive Prius in a Honda world. And no, you're not 16-bit. That's also a marketing gimmick. It's 16-bit linear, which like equals into like 12-bit. It's not even matching my 14-bit Fuji if we're being real. So it's like, you're not what you think you are. Oh, 16-bit. Anyone saying that doesn't understand science, nor do I, but I believe that Sony is shady and they're not telling us what's the real deal. It was never 16-bit. Red does 16-bit, not Sony. They're lying to you in your face and you're taking it. Fuji autofocus. So what do you think? Are we being marketed to and we're falling for it? I think that's what's really happening, and we're not getting more cinema, we're getting less, if anything. More clinical, less fun. So I'll be leaving now. Thank you for agreeing down below. Thank you for your Bitcoin technology.
As always, I find this guy's humor on point. I like that kind of dry humor stuff, though. But it's interesting because I think yesterday on the stream we were talking, I think it was me and Fedorevsky, and we were talking about the Osmo Pocket 4 and supposedly how amazing the dynamic range and everything is. So if we are to now believe Camera Conspiracy, I don't know his actual name, he's kind of throwing, water on it, essentially, of like, it's, on paper, yes, but in actuality does it actually give you that amazing, you know, dynamic range with the cinema quality? Who knows? But I mean, I'm kind of bought into DJI regardless, so I think I'm stuck. Hopefully it's good. Asking the bear editors how they cut with intensity. Ooh, I could learn a lot from that. Like I said, the bear is right now just like, to me, hands down, damn near perfect show.
When you think of the bear, this is probably what you see.
Just make it easy and make the f***ing spaghetti. Don't say spaghetti. All these knives are done. Did you take my knife, chef? Did you take my pot, chef? Yeah. Yes, chef. Yes, chef. Yes, chef. Yes, chef.
My favorite like mashup description of the bear is Uncut Gems meets Ratatouille.
But to earn that chaos, the bear needs to have moments like this.
Mashup description of the bear.
Yes, chef. Yes, chef. Yes, chef.
My favorite like mashup description of the bear is Uncut Gems meets
Ratatouille. I don't know. I was letting that sit in my mind for a bit, but I decided I want to come back to that. I think that's a really fascinating way to describe it. Uncut Gems. Would I ever watch it again? I'm not sure. But when I watched it, did I enjoy it? Yes. It was quite a ride. It was like surprisingly really good. I don't know. I guess maybe I say surprisingly because for whatever reason, when I think of Adam Sandler, I just think of like my childhood movies where, you know, they were so much fun to watch his stuff, but it was never like meant to be super artistic or serious or something deeper. But this movie I felt was really deep, you know, and it was cut in such a way that, yeah, you just felt like you're on for a ride from like, you know, it just kept pacing itself faster and faster. So anyways, that's interesting. I want to keep this in mind. Uncut Gems meets Ratatouille.
Ratatouille.
But to earn that chaos, the bear needs to have moments like this.
It's style not for the sake of style itself. The slow, paced out, more deliberate scenes are a reflection of the fact that they're coming out of the chaos. And then when we're going back in, we're going to be back to the craziness, not because it looks cool, but because we want to get to the emotional center of what these people are going through and where their heads are at.
On today's episode, we sit down with Emmy-nominated editors Joanna Nagel and Adam Epstein to chat about their brilliant work on The Bear and how this little show captured the hearts, minds, and awards of everyone watching.
This interview was recorded by Riverside. It is the best remote video recording tool for podcasts. You can find out more about them later.
I only recently started watching the show about a week ago, and I was luckily able to go through like the whole show and of course of this week. But I was always shared on Twitter the opening montage on episode 1. And I saw that multiple times, and I'm so glad I finally got to see it in context as well. But Joanna, I would love for you to actually be breaking down just the challenges, the experiences, the creative choices that you had to make into creating that sequence.
Yeah, so we were in the edit for the pilot, and one of the things that Chris Storer, who created the pilot and directed it and wrote it, or created the entire show, I should say, was that he really wanted things to just start with like a shot of adrenaline. And the script was kind of fighting us on that because it opened with a bunch of different scenes. It was Carmi emptying Ballbreaker and then selling the jeans, and then he's making the meat and he's talking to Tina. It just didn't have as much energy to it. It didn't feel like we were like immersed in this world right from the beginning. So one of the ways that we were able to create that effect was by creating a montage that basically took bits of all these different scenes and definitely having it be a little bit of a catching up moment of like, okay, this is the speed of the show. You're in, you're out. This is what you're signing up for. It's going to get a little crazy. And so all the different pieces we had to work with were those different scenes that were scripted. And on top of that, we had all the Chicago B-roll. And then on top of that, we added in some archival footage of different families in Chicago over the years, kind of building up this generational idea of Italian families in Chicago. There's so many different things we wanted to show, and we found out by like braiding them together, it was the perfect way to kind of set that up. And then we're kind of off to the races for the rest of the episode.
So they were all separate scenes, but then the intent was, okay, we actually want to showcase how manic and how much like in the deep end he already is on this. And so throwing them all together aggressively kind of like just set up that emotion straight away.
Exactly. And I think originally those scenes were like 10 minutes long or something. And Chris was like, can we do it in 3? And I was like, that is the most insane note I've ever gotten. Let's try. And it was very fun to try to figure it out.
Well, it hooked me. Let's walk through it.
Yeah, right away we have 2 songs playing at once. That is classic Bear chaos. We have the Refused song that we already had a little bit at the beginning of the episode and kind of becomes Carmi's theme, and then building in this Budos Band song creates this weird overlapping effect while keeping the energy really strong.
With this good win with finding some more cash by then cutting to it and setting up the stove, what I kind of got out of this is like that's a win, and it kind of rewards himself with cooking a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. And we, throughout the whole first season, we used so much of that, like cranking the dials and like a quick zoom in on like the fire. Like that was a visual language that Adam and I talked about as like this burst of energy. And it was just always such a great way to kind of build up that excitement before we get into one of our usually crazy montages. Here we start to introduce our cross dissolves, which is a tool I don't use that often, but
I use it. I'm still learning like best ways to do transitions, but like if you've seen any of my YouTube videos, for the most part, I don't do anything super punchy. I just like to either do some fade ins, fade outs, where it's like fade to black usually, or I'll just kind of cross dissolve from one shot to the next in a soft manner. Which is interesting that they're saying they use that, because yeah, if you think about this opening montage, it's like super fast cuts, which tends to not, you don't think of like these cross dissolving effects as being something for fast transitions, but anyways.
It felt right here because I basically was trying to create a difference between the static cuts or like the hard cuts between the different scenes and what was going on. And the intent was that the cross dissolves would create a little bit of this romance of like, when he's cooking, time kind of slows down. Time feels like it's fading into each other. Like this is his happy place. This is his creative place.
Man, yeah, I'm glad I'm watching this because that is amazing to hear the thought process behind that. So to use the cross dissolves to make it feel more romanticized, more emotional, but then juxtaposing that to the hard cuts of like the chaos around, I think that's great.
And I think those cross dissolves were the best way we could think of to kind of visually show that.
Hey, Chi-Chi, it's Carm. You still got that meat connect?
Oh wow, a lot just happened there. What was going on there?
So now we bring in some Chicago B-roll. Intentionally in the footage, Adam and I really tried to use things that had quick zoom in, snap zooms, motion. I remember as I was cutting
Wait,
this
hold on. Do they use a sound effect when they show the photos? Because I might want to find that sound effect to use it for my own videos. Hold on.
Hey, Chi-Chi, it's Carm. You still got that meat connect?
Oh wow, a lot just happened there. What was going on there?
So now we bring in some Chicago B-roll. Intentionally in the footage, Adam and I really tried to use things that had quick zoom in, snap zooms, motion. I remember as I was cutting this scene, I was like, oh, the pigeons are kind of a cool detail. And for a while, I just had them sitting on there. And then I was like, oh, why does this shot just feel like it's like sucking the energy out of the montage? And I was like, oh, there's no motion. So I went and found, a little section where one of the pigeons takes off, and it just matches so beautifully then to the subway running past and the snap zoom. So I think every little moment, it was just like, oh, what can we find that's like moving. And then we start introducing our first photos and still images. And one of the things that we were really inspired by is there's like the archival home movies montage that happens in Raging Bull, where you see Vicky and Jake getting married. You see this like Super 8 footage, and then it's cut in between with stills of him fighting and, you know, these gorgeous moments in time. And I just always loved, it really stuck with me even when I first saw it, like how the interplay of the still images with the motion creates like this kind of nostalgia and kind of a bridge between two worlds. So originally this was a lot more of Chicago footage, and when Chris and I were talking about it, it was like, oh, we should really be introducing Carmi and like the generations and generations of people who give him his appreciation for food.
It feels like an overwhelming character development sequence. It's like we're seeing him in action while also giving his backstory all at the same time. And I think these photos really just like add towards like me understanding Cammy in like less than 2 minutes. And it's like, why the hell would you want to work in this environment? But then with all of these nostalgic photos, it kind of made me feel like, oh, so this feels like home to him. This is where he feels kind of like the most safe in that sense, in that sort of manic panic feeling.
100%. No, that's, I'm so glad that that came through. What would be unbelievably hellish and horrible for someone actually is comforting for him in weird, twisted ways as well. So trying to already set that up for the audience.
I love it. All right.
You cut vegetables like a bitch. Don't wipe your hands on your apron, Chef. Jeff.
Yeah, and we get a little taste of Tina, who I think we've met already before this, but setting up Tina as, you know, one of the first people to be at the restaurant, giving him a hard time is just also setting up, like, he has no respect here. He's shown up. He's just the owner's little brother, and they're like, oh, I guess you're fancy, huh? So Tina already negging him is also just kind of setting up these layers. He doesn't have any allies right now. You know, it's him against the world, and he's going to try to make it work.
Chef.
Again, it was just another cross dissolve. It's just calming and then panic. Just giving us that brief moment of peace in between with these cooking shots. And I think you kind of litter it sort of throughout the whole montage, these types of moments of cooking.
Definitely. Yeah, that's a way that we can also show his day progressing with all these things that are kind of happening simultaneously as we're tracking the beef getting made as well.
And it just helps connect all of the sequences a little bit more. It kind of creates a foundation that supports them all a little bit.
Time is such an important factor in the show, and every step of the way it's just like, okay, what's the countdown to open? Like, when are we going to be done with construction? Like, that's something that's really built into both seasons. And so I think as editors, it's such a fun motif or theme to play with as the people who are literally controlling how much time we're spending in each scene. I just think this scene is so smart too from a writing perspective. You know, we've set up him as this chef who knows what he's doing, and then he runs home and there's jeans in his oven. Like, this is such a great character detail that kind of makes no sense, and like they don't really ever explain, which I love. It's just like, oh, I guess he collects dope jeans, and you know, it's also when he's cooking, he's at work. He's not cooking for himself, and we see that even more throughout the season. Also, he has his home life, which is very different from how he takes care of the patrons in his restaurant. He doesn't extend the same kindness to himself, and just seeing that his oven probably hasn't been turned on any time in the last few weeks is clear.
That was an interesting moment for me there. It was, so you're showing all of these shots of this home life, and then you cut to just that one quick shot of the beef being flipped.
The most of the cooking is at the beginning as we're setting it up, and then like that's something that I find a lot in these like fast-paced montages is if you really set something up, you know, not even for that long, like let's say 2 seconds, then throughout the montage, if you just have a quick flash that relates to that thing you've set up, the mind will connect it right away. So just that one flip is like, okay, we're in a new location, let's go, but don't worry, he's still cooking. It just kind of like checks in with him and then on to the next one.
We got issues. This arcu, it's painted.
Yeah, no shit it is. They conserved copper during World War II.
That's why there's no rivets?
That's why no rivets. How the fuck do you not know that?
Because I fucking don't.
This is original Big E red line salvage, all right, from 1944. You can get $12.50 for that on eBay tonight.
And I'd still be 5.5 short.
Add this.
What am I, a coin star?
That's like $300,
$300 plus what?
Plus a 1955 blanket line type 3.
Pleated?
Pleated.
Boom.
Why did you create that pause there? That was an interesting pause where he hesitated on his next statement.
Yeah, that was a moment that I talked to Chris about a lot. I don't even really understand what he's saying there in terms of the nuances of the different genes, but I think you can understand that if he's pausing, he's hesitant, and it's clear that this thing has a little bit of extra importance, and maybe he's sacrificing something a little bit more to make this work. So I think that's the first time we were trying to show that he needs to like make these tough decisions in order to problem solve, you know, this kind of predicament he's gotten himself into.
Plus 1955 blanket line type 3.
Pleated?
Pleated.
Boom.
I'd love to add one thing just as a fan of Joanna's work, like especially in that moment that you guys brought up. She has such an incredible ability of finding a pocket in the phrasing of the music and letting the action, like in this case, his pause, the way that plays out in that breakdown with like the little bit of the trailing reverb of the song before it kicks back in. Like, it's so on point.
I mean, throughout the entire montage, you did such an amazing job of contrasting sound and visuals and then also marrying them. What was your thought process when building the whole soundscape in relation to the visuals?
We do so much temp sound work on this show. Adam and I have talked about it like more than any show either of us has worked on. And I think also it's so helpful like within a montage. This is also something Adam and I have talked about. If you just add a little bit of a sound effect, a lot of times you can like cut away from a shot even sooner because it's not just like, oh, I only have 10 frames to look at this beef being flipped. It's like, oh, well, if you hear a little bit of a sizzle, you're going to like connect that even more quickly.
Quick pause here as we're speed running. I'm making good progress here. I'm on like the third to last day of photos from the trip. And then, of course, I have the photos from the Acilia, the actual guides themselves. So we're not fully done, but anyways. Quick pause. When I'm watching this video, and we watched a few on some other recent streams of, what's the guy's name? Joe Walker and other like video editors. A thought that's constantly running through my mind watching these, because it is super inspiring. It's like very motivating. It's super interesting to see how their thought process. And when I put it then into my world of what do I do, how does that relate to me? And I think about like, in my small world of doing my photos, my videos, my YouTube videos, as I'm learning about filmmaking, stuff like that. Obviously, I have no one really to rely on. Yes, I'm working now with a YouTube editor who's helping me out quite a bit. But like when it comes to like, for the most part, it's just a one-man show. And so when I think of like the fact when I edit my videos, when I put a story together, all of it, I do find a lot of enjoyment. And, when you see some of the videos that I've posted or even like that short film, right? It's in reflection and also in the moment when you're scrambling to make the video come together in the editing room, let's say, or obviously in my home studio. I really do enjoy that. And I have a long ways to go before I could say I'm like a quote unquote professional, like to the level of what we're seeing here for like a TV show and stuff like that. But I at least have taken the first few steps forward in that direction. But at the same time, I've been taking a few steps forward for some of the other types of functions, let's say. So like the actual art of shooting, right? So instead of being behind the desk in the editing room, I've been really enjoying and learning how to film certain moments, right? Like the actual proper filmmaking techniques or the camera techniques. How do you shoot this shot here? How do you light this scene? Blah, blah, blah. And then thirdly, also trying to learn more about being a director, right? Like how do I actually direct this? How do I come up with the storyline? How do I think through all the key steps? And how do I put the, everything from the shot list to the, just all of that, like, putting the soul into everything, I guess. I don't know. That's been really fun. So then the question is like, okay, what do I do? Do I continue, I guess, trying my best to be a generalist? In some ways I have no choice. So like every time I make a video for my YouTube channel, it's like I have to kind of play all the roles. And of course, yeah, I'm going to keep doing that. And then the question comes into play of like, if I get to a point where it does make sense that I should be focusing on one of these tasks further, which one would I prefer. Like if there is a situation where, let's say I at least improve my skills enough where just very randomly, let's say there's a job opening for some, I don't know, we'll stick to the bear concept, like a TV show. And there's a job where I could be the, an editor for that show. Or there's a job where I could be one of the camera operators for that show. Or if there's a job where I can actually direct my own show. Which of those would I personally want to lean towards? And I don't have the answer yet, which is why I want to pause and think it through a bit. Because like every time I hear these editors break down how they made this scene come to life, I'm actually realizing more and more that they are kind of like the soul. It's like, okay, I don't know, I'm mixing a bunch of things, but they're like breathing life into the actual concept. So it's like, okay, now I'm thinking of Coraline, and in the opening scene of Coraline, you see the supernatural creature stitching a doll together, and then at the very end putting the eyes into the doll. And then the assumption is like once those eyes are in place, then all of a sudden or actually that's not true, but it's like, okay, maybe I'll use Pinocchio. That's probably better. You make the thing, but then at some point the actual life comes into it. And obviously the editor plays a big role in actually doing that, versus the director, versus the camera people, all of it. I don't know which one I prefer. I'm yapping a bit, but it is a thought process in my mind. And so the more of these types of videos I watch, I'm hoping I can get a better sense for myself where I want to put my energy into. But suffice to say, watching these is making me really respect the role of being an editor and how important it is to have a good editor on the show. It's, you can have an amazing director, you can have really good camera people who know how to shoot the shots or find the right moments, but man, the editor has to kind of pull it all in together.
Happening. So I think adding whatever sound effects to build up that montage just helped me be more confident cutting a little bit faster, realizing we could even put a little bit more information into this.
Boom.
So I think here, like, all of the rules have been set. We're now just enjoying this flow now. It's just like, we're in this.
Then we're setting up this ball breaker tournament, which was something we kept coming back to in the pilot because it was never really scripted to set up the tournament. It was kind of just like, okay, there's this weird video game. There's going to be a tournament. So that was something we built out in graphics. So it was a way to like raise the stakes and be like, okay, this is what we're building towards. A huge plot line is going to be getting people to show up, making their day by having this tournament.
So you essentially got a digital pickup.
And then I just love, he looks at the clock and it's like, 10 a.m. It's like, it feels like he's had a full day. It's just like setting up from the beginning what a labor of love it is to run a restaurant. And it's not just about cooking. It's also about managing these 400 different things. And that just sets up what the show is going to explore, throughout the course of the series.
Now, obviously, this podcast is a remote interview, which can be frustrating to do, but it was incredibly easy because of Riverside.
Honestly, if you're not using Riverside for all of your virtual meetings, you're making a big mistake.
I've even been using it for consultations. As soon as we're done, I get to send them the entire recording.
And not to mention the recording quality is it's good.
Whereas other virtual meeting services can only do up to 720, Riverside can do 4K.
Which is why we like to use it for podcasting. And we love it because it records each audio and video track separately, so that editing is such a breeze when we get into post.
Which means our editor can get started on cutting it almost immediately.
And even if you or your guest has absolute garbage internet, it doesn't matter. Because remember that one time when we were in the hotel room?
I mean, the call kept on jostling. I thought we lost it, but because Riverside records locally and then uploads, the call was perfect. And it's easy for the guests. They don't need to install anything. You just send them the link and you can start recording.
It even says like, roll out the red carpet. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, it makes me feel special.
It makes me feel so special.
If you're podcasting, creating video content, or recording online calls, then sign up to riverside.fm for free and use code EDITINGPODCAST for 20% off.
And you can find that link in the description, and we'll see you back in the interview. This really reminded me of uncut gems.
Oh, no, what is happening? Don't know me.
So I want the Celtics to cover. I want the Celtics halftime.
I wanted to talk to you for a minute.
Where it's just like a relentless pace of just like, you don't get a break. It's like everything's very close up, and that gives you like no space to breathe. So just talk me through the whole like editing.
I forgot this photo. This one, I guess I didn't send this to the clients because, you know, it's just like one of those quirky photos, not necessarily one you want commercially. But this one could be fun if I, you know, sit with it. Maybe there'll be some interesting framing, something we can do with it. Just because obviously seeing the difference in scale because of the distance. Now, obviously, the antelope, gazelle, whatever, is blurry. But yeah, I think we can do something fun with this one. So we'll sit on that.
Thought process when approaching the show as a whole, or even this first sequence.
Yeah, that's so funny you say uncut gems, because my favorite like mashup description of the bear is uncut gems meets Ratatouille, which is like just such a perfect combination to me. But yeah, it's so true. Like Chris loves close-ups, and I think I can speak on Adam's behalf. We also love close-ups and the energy they have, the intensity they have, the focus they have. Chris and Josh and Joanna, the whole creative team, they're really great at saying, you know, this is what we want it to feel like. Like, for example, this scene should feel like he's drowning, and then not like, and here's what you should do to, you know, to make it happen. He's like, what do you have in your editing toolkit to make that possible? And I was like, okay, cool. Let's see. We have music, we have cross dissolves, we have fast cuts, we have sound effects, we have visual effects, and just figuring out how those all could go together to create this desired effect. Like, that's my favorite way to edit.
Adam, what about you? I think, what were some of your like big rules and ideas and philosophies on the editing language of the bear?
Sure. Well, the thing I like about the style of this show is it can be extremely stylistic and edit forward, like you're saying. Like, it's not, you know, invisible editing by any sense of that. But I like that it's style not for the sake of style itself. It's style that always has a reflection either in mirroring the internal emotions of the character in question, or very often reflecting the environment that the scene is taking place. So oftentimes, you know, that seems kind of like simplistic, but like the slow, paced out, more deliberate scenes are a reflection of the fact that they're coming out of the chaos. So of course they're going to be feeling this kind of release, and we're going to have the style then mirror that. And then when we're going back in, we're going to be back to the craziness, not because it looks cool, but because we want to get to the emotional center of what these people are going through and where their heads are at.
You just use the full frequency of editing tools to achieve certain emotions. You guys do such a good job of that. And I think a perfect example of that is when we fast forward to season 2, we're going to talk about 207, which is one of probably the best episodes of the show, Forks. This episode is about Cousin Rich's journey, trying to take himself seriously. So how did you guys as a team speak about that and try to use the tools of filmmaking to make that happen within his character?
Yeah, so like when I initially read this script, I was very excited because Richie, even in season 1, when everyone's like, I can't stand that guy.
Fuck all this. Where's my gun?
He was immediately, I'm like, this is my favorite character on the show, and it's not even close. And every character is amazing, but I think it's just the combination of Evan being just such an incredible actor, and I think Richie at first is also just incredibly misunderstood, and what people initially clock as him just being a loud ass and, you know, really uncouth it's not that he's damaged. He's incredibly sad and hurt and flailing and just trying to find his place, you know, in a world where all of his anchors have completely become untethered. So he's just floating. And I think there's something very universal about men of a certain age who haven't really found their way. What happens oftentimes, you know, they lash out. So it was really nice to have this arc that happens, you know, in the course of 30 minutes, basically. I was really excited to work on. The first 3 shots there all become recurring shots that we see visual progress as they happen throughout the episode. This one montage, and then when he later is like really at his peak of doing great, You know, we see that he beats the alarm for the first time, and then later when he's kind of a little more dejected, we see that he kind of like sleeps later. So it's setting up like right off the bat in these like really simple shots what are going to be recurring images that kind of guide us through as tent poles throughout the rest of the episode.
I always like that sort of philosophy where it's like rule setting and how you project that into the audience. And so it's intentional that these cuts are slow, and so we do ingest all of this information, and therefore it just pays off so much more subtly later on.
Yeah, and it helps too from like, you know, just a nuts and bolts editorial standpoint to give yourself markers throughout the way. It's similar to what she was doing in the pilot as far as like having the cooking being things that you can space out that then give you a bit of a grip broadly on what you're watching. It just it really helps you with overall structure.
I really like you holding on to him here.
Yeah, it's for me there. It was, I knew that basically the out on that was going to be his look and the kind of the exhale of the cigarette, because that's signifying like, here we go. Whatever here we go is going to be, that's kind of the visual kind of kickoff. And you can, and the way that he acts with his eyes too, you really see that there's some weight to whatever is going to be happening here.
Fuck you, cousin.
All right, so this is all about setting vibe.
Okay. Officially, I say officially, but I have scrolled through all of my photos, which is how many photos? About 7,100 photos. So I think I've at least gone through, eyeballed most of them. Some of them I've already, you know, like I said, I've edited. I've got a good sense that I've grabbed at least one key image of each kind of potential series of whatever animal shots I have. And then we have some of the people, so. Okay. Now, unfortunately, the job's not done yet because, like I said, the remaining 12,598 photos is coming from the photos that the guides took. So in case you're, I don't know if this is interesting at all, but the way I organized it, there were two workshops. Basically, there was a group of about 10 in the first group and then another group of about 10, let's just say, in the second group. Not necessarily true. I think it was like the first group is a little bit smaller than the second, but I digress. So then what I did is I created a folder for each guide. And my God, this was so much work, by the way, because it was like each guide, we would have what? At least two different safaris, right? We'd have the morning drive, afternoon drive. If we didn't do an afternoon drive, we were still going somewhere or doing a photography session to like keep teaching them. Yo, Driftless, Mindful, hey, how's it going? Sorry, I missed your message. You said afternoon, Yobel. Afternoon to you too. It is now 9:30 p.m. over yonder. I hope you're doing well. I'm just breaking down the work that I'm doing today. So I've reviewed all my photos. Now I've got a bunch from the actual guides, the photos they took. And so basically the day-to-day agenda was basically early morning, we go out for our game drive. Come back for sometimes a bit of a workshop from the lodge after the drive, or we break for lunch, and then I would meet them in the early afternoon so that we can go for our second game drive, or to do some other type of photo shoot or classroom lecture. So it was just, that's how we mix it up. So usually the free time was in the afternoon, the midday, when the weather's too hot or it's not good sightings anyways. That's what that was the time where I was supposed to be trying to catch up on sleep, take a nap, but that never ended up happening. So what would happen before each of these game drives is I would need to hand out the cameras to each of them. Actually, I wonder if I should have the video. Hold on a second. I should have the actual behind the scenes. From Tanzania. I wonder if I can just randomly find an example of this.
What picking me up with?
I'm gonna see if I can find, so because there's like basically something I would have to do. This is our morning walk. So basically we're waking up before the sun, walking through the trails to get to the Jeep or the vehicle, and then head off to meet the rest of them.
Cleaning?
So it's not there. Not there. Come on, I've got to have it somewhere. Dang. Okay, I didn't have here. But it's kind of like a good example-ish, where basically once we were done with the game drives, I have to do it before and then after. But there's this white board over on the left. I thought I was going to be able to show it.
Chicks?
Okay, let me see if I find it, though.
Final bit.
Oh, this is when we were starting.
Final bit.
There's the whiteboard.
Oh, shoot.
Okay, I was hoping I know I have it somewhere, but basically what would happen is before we all get into the Jeeps early in the morning, I would have to figure out who to assign the different cameras to, because it's not like everyone had the same camera. It's not like everyone was shooting with the same lens. We had a mixture of like certain cameras that were more powerful than others, certain lenses that could shoot longer than others, like in terms of the focal lengths. So I had to start, like, I had a whole table on the whiteboard to figure out who borrowed which camera, which lens, which day, so that I could make sure everyone can rotate and use the different cameras, and also at the same time figure out who is driving the vehicles for each of the game drives, because I wanted to make sure, because obviously if you're driving, you're not shooting. So I needed to make sure there's a good balance of whoever was driving on the morning game drive would then either during the break time of the same drive or on the afternoon drive, they'd make sure that they're not driving that time. It was a whole thing. I mean, I'm proud of myself. It was a lot of work is the main point I'm trying to express. But as part of that, you had, like, let's say close to 10 people for each workshop. That meant I also had to provide them with the memory cards. And the memory cards that we had, they weren't big enough to, you know, have them not be deleted. So what would happen is, like, I would hand out the memory cards. At the end of each drive, when they come back, they would have to hand it to me, and I'd have to literally write out the initials of whose memory card is whose. And then when I get back to my room, I would have to spend that afternoon offloading all the images, put it into the appropriate person's drives. And it, you know, it's like there's a lot of other things that happen with it that made it super complicated. And the point is, I ended up never getting sleep during the breaks, just because I was always busy having to make sure I offload all their images, put them, like, organize them into the right folders, delete the memory cards so that on the next drive, we don't have weird overlaps and we can keep track of who took what photos, when, all of it. So, my God, it was an exhausting trip, but you know, obviously I'm not complaining. I love these kinds of things, but it was just like a nonstop. And you can see, like, we'd wake up before the sun. Yeah, and then usually I'd have the late dinner, and then when I got back to my room, I'm still working, because then I'd be charging batteries, now offloading more stuff from the afternoon drive. doing the same exercise of deleting all the memory cards, offloading. Yeah, it was a lot.
3 years ago until today. You haven't even been with Australia 3 years. You?
I did like, yeah, so the group, like I mentioned, all of them are super fun, chill, you know, just a good time. This was Anderson. He was definitely one of the more jovial. He comes off as very shy, but then once he's talking, you realize that's all a front. This guy was a jokester. So I have a lot of moments. I interviewed him a few times, so I should have some good footage and fun moments with him. But yeah, so anyways, we got a lot of fun stuff like that we're going to have to take care of later. So speaking of which, 12,598 photos now that I have to go through. This is where we take a step back. These are not photos that I took. So this is where it's kind of fun for me because it's different. These are all photos that the guides took. Now, I did, of course, go through them and do my own reviews before in terms of figuring out which photos were the best. And of those photos, I've already, same thing as with my other images, I've already edited a lot of these photos so I can send it over to Acilia. But I'm sure we're going to continue editing and seeing how we can improve some of them. But also, like I said, very impressed by some of the captures that they took. So, you know, it also feels nice when you see the progression, like, you know, especially for some of them, they had taken my workshop last year. Others, this is their first time. Some of them is their first time holding a camera. Some, they had their own camera, so they had some practice already. So they're coming in with different levels of knowledge and experience and passion, whatever else. But it was really nice to be able to see that as a group, they were all making improvements to how they captured photos. So maybe like on the first drive, or there'd be certain mistakes you see all the time. There's like some areas where they're overexposing or doing the wrong things, or the shot is very blurry. But then I would kind of iron that out with them over the next few days. And it definitely felt like they were starting to improve to the level where it's like, man, these are some good ass captures. Like, I wonder if I can just go through them now. I don't know if I 5-starred any here, except for the one. Okay, so then just going through, these are some of the ones that I had 4-starred that they took. So we had a few different moments where we, you know, during picnic breaks or like lunch breaks, we'd, you know, make use of all the time. So even during lunch breaks, I'd have them practice doing some different like types of shoots. Some of them were getting interviewed at various points. So then you can see them being photographed. Different, so you can see some of them shot with like wider lenses. This one goes up to 200, but I think it was like f5 or something like that. f4 to 6.3. Practicing shooting each other, doing different, understanding a bit about like the angles, eye levels, composition. This is Maggie. She's one of the... There's not many female guides, but Acilia, they do an excellent job of like training, but they're also known for... I don't know if they're the first, but they definitely had trained a number of like the female guides. They do like they just do a really good job of training, basically. So good on Acilia. Let's see what else we got. We got some wildlife shots. So you can tell that these are all edited. So I had at least gone through each image and edited them. So while they took the photos, I was doing the edits, because part of the workshop, we didn't have enough time to teach how to do like photo editing. And also that's kind of a stretch anyways. It's not as important to teach them how to edit photos. It was more important that they understand how to take the shots. Like, how do you compose the shots? How do you find the moments? How do you be in the shoes of a photographer when you're out in the field, right? Teaching them how to edit is a really nice thing. I would love to do that, but it was just more of like a, if we can get to that point, that's great, but that's not the primary purpose of the workshop, the training. But anyways, so I would edit each photo, but really, you know, props to them for getting these types of captures. So, yeah. Like I said, I'll be going through these photos again and re-editing them So I am curious what we can do to improve it even further, you know? But yeah, they got some great shots. Now, the other thing I had mentioned is that we were here in the off season. This is not necessarily meant to be like, hey, you know, you're going to see some of the best captures of lions, leopards, everything else. Just because it was in the off season, you know, rainy season. Technically, this camp is closed during this time, so guests aren't here. There's not many guests in this part of the national park, Tarangire National Park. But that was also why it was a perfect time to do the training. So during the time when it's least busy, Acilia is able to bring in all these guides so that they can do the training properly. So, yeah. Look at that winking leopard. Oh, I did kind of skip over this, but I was actually really happy with these edits. I decided to kind of color grade these in a way that it was a bit more muted. I think I actually even this, no, I could be wrong. Anyways, I edited this to look a bit more muted, soft, I don't know how to say it, a little bit more dramatic and darker tones, but removing a lot of the colors, so keeping in this kind of style. But I really like how this looks. Very moody. Shout out to DJI. And there we go. So anyways, these are the ones that I highlighted, but of course there's a lot more photos than that. How many did I? So there's 488 out of the close to 12,500 photos from theirs that I essentially ended up editing for keepers. I'll want to kind of go through this a bit further though. L, what's going on? L says, yo, did you see what I posted in the Discord? I have not. Or was it from today? Let's see. Hold on. L, also hope you're doing well. Hope life is good on a Thursday for you. Let's see here. Hey, people, note that Twitch scrapes your data for generative AI automatically now, but you can turn it off. Ooh, interesting. Twitch is under fire. Man, Twitch is always under fire, it feels like. I feel like they're... they seem to always do things that piss people off. Probably rightfully so, but, you know, I don't follow it that carefully. So, you sent the link. Let me click on this. Elle says, I'm good, got tomorrow off, and got a show. All right. You got any new cameras or gears that you're trying to purchase? Let's check out this link you sent. Twitch under fire for new generative AI training system. You know what? I just watched a video from the big YouTuber Moist Critical, Charlie, where he was breaking down something that happened with like YouTube was like flagging a huge, like a very, very large channel. It like basically shadow banned that channel because it assumed incorrectly, I'm assuming, but I think it basically said it was an AI channel and then chose to shadow ban it, even though this channel had been out for years. It had like 20 million plus subscribers. And so anyways, yeah, I don't know. It is a concern how much AI is being used by these platforms to make decisions on your behalf, and you don't know to what extent it could actually be damaging what you're trying to do. Obviously, this is a different story. So this is about using Gen AI training system that harvests streamer data for Amazon. Says it's on by default. Oh, that's hilarious. Yo, this title is hilarious. It's on by default because if it was opt-in, nobody would opt in. Well, then, I mean, shouldn't that tell you everything? I feel like, okay, if we take just this quote, you know, without any other context, but taking just this quote, I'm trying to think what else in life would this ever be acceptable? Like what else in any kind of a situation would it be acceptable for you to hear the other person saying, well, if I gave you the choice, you would choose not to use this. So we decided to make you use it, knowing that if you could choose to, you wouldn't want to use it. Like what? Make that make sense. Streams, VODs, comments, and pretty much everything else will go into the Gen AI training machine unless streamers choose to opt out. Twitch has revealed that it is now using content in streams to, quote, train generative AI content models across Amazon. What the hell? End quote. And making matters worse, everyone is opted into the training program by default. Rumors of an AI training program have been kicking around for at least a few weeks now. Streamer Zach Busey posted about it on Blue Sky. Okay. It was confirmed today very indirectly by a Twitch support announcement on X of a setting that lets streamers opt out. We've added a, okay, so this is from Twitch support. We've added a setting that lets you opt out of having your channel content used to train generative AI content models across Amazon. This is kind of reminding me of, didn't Adobe get a lot of heat for this? Because it turns out like they were using all the whatever art projects, photos, anything you did on like Photoshop, they were then basically using that to create their own AI training stuff. Elle says like getting the DPA 2017. I don't know what that is. Yo, I'm out of the loop. DPA 2017. Oh, it's a shotgun mic. Oh, okay. This is in reference to what I asked you. So you're trying to get this mic. Interesting. I wouldn't mind spending hefty amount of money for like a proper shotgun mic for sure. This one's a bit pricey, yeah. I mean, this is a big boy purchase. So, if you choose to get it, congratulations. I'm sure the quality is going to be fantastic. Okay, so then how do we turn it off? Let's see. That naturally means the default setting is opt-in, which has not gone over well, of course. A Twitch user voice thread, blah, blah, blah. Okay, how do we turn it off, though? As for why the new generative AIs opt in by default, Twitch Chief Product Officer Mike Minton gave an unexpectedly honest answer during a live stream today, and by extension confirmed that Twitch is well aware of how people really feel about it. Quote, if it was opt-in, nobody would opt in, end quote. That is just so damning. I don't know. Okay, so it's not particularly difficult to opt out. Just go to the security and privacy tab in your Twitch settings. Scroll down to the bottom. Okay, let's go ahead and do this now. So thank you, Elle. I appreciate that. Elle says, it's not that pricey. I don't know, $1,000? That's kind of hefty. Try looking up the Big Brother DPA 4017, then that get used by BBC Earth, Nat Geo. Damn. It's funny, we're mixing two conversations. So when I saw the first line, it says, try looking up the Big Brother. I thought you were talking about some kind of spying thing. Because that was a big thing in the US, right? After 9/11, it was like the Big Brother. DPA 4017. $2,200. Okay. One of these days. Okay, so you said I just need to go into the settings. Let's go ahead. Give me a second. I'll do it over on this side. Twitch. How dare you? You said settings, privacy, settings. Why is it so difficult for me to find this? All right. Settings, advanced broadcast features, VOD settings and stream rewind. Clip settings, permissions. It's not there. Maybe I'm looking at something different from what you're talking about. I'm on the creator dashboard. Maybe I have to go to account settings. Oh, there we go. Yeah, okay. Account settings, security and privacy. Where is this freaking... Oh, at the bottom. training for generative AI. These sneaky bastards. Let's read what it says. Allow your channel content to train generative AI content models at Amazon. I think that's also one of the most nefarious parts of this. The fact that it's also saying like, hey, we're going to train your stuff for the broader Amazon world. Not like as if like, hey, we're going to train your stuff to improve Twitch, blah, blah, blah. I don't, whatever it's going to be used for. But it's like, there's like one world where it's like, hey, you're opting in so we can train the system to be better at moderation or better at blah, blah, blah for Twitch. Okay. While I still don't necessarily want my data to be used for that, at least you're trying to say it's going back into the same world. For it to be like, oh, we're going to use this for broader Amazon. So now we're like, your information, your data is leaking out of this platform onto whatever else Amazon decides to work on. Because obviously Twitch is like a tiny blip, you know, in that world. And it's like, okay, now it's like you really have no control over how your data is being used. So let me go ahead and make sure to turn that bad boy off. Thank you, L. I appreciate that. L says, oh yeah, both are pristine. Yep, I agree on the mics. It includes regular chats too, like what I'm doing right now. Well, thankfully, it is now turned off. So hopefully we're all safe for now. But Jesus. Ugh. And by the way, I'm not usually one of those that like, honestly, I don't care that much about data privacy, blah, blah, blah. And the reason I say that is because everything in life, it's just about trade-offs. Like, what am I getting in exchange for this, right? Because I remember back in the day when people were, there's a segment of people who were like, there's no shot I would ever give my information, my data to Apple, to Google, blah, blah, blah. But then it's like, there's not necessarily hypocrisy, but it's more of like, well, it feels weird to say that so strongly with your chest while you unlock your phone with your Face ID. Or before it was like, unlock your phone with your thumbprint. You put your credit card, your payment information into the wallet, which is secured, but, you know, using stuff that you have to ultimately trust these guys for. So it's like, at some point I realized it's always just a balance between convenience versus security, right? And you would think you want to live in a world where everything is fully secure, but that doesn't make sense either, right? Like, can you imagine if everything was fully secure? It would become a world of super, or you had to like do two-factor authentication just to do the simplest thing. So at its extremes, that's like a bit much. And like in reality, we see how it's borne out by the fact that, yeah, ultimately we're willing to give up our biometrics, knowing that they could be lying to us, right? It's like, oh, trust me, it's all hash data, and it's like, you know, it's not like your actual face that's being saved. It's not your credit card, it's a token that's, you know, basically making it so that if someone steals your information, the real card number is not being actually touched. It's like, okay, yeah, at some point you can look into it and realize there's some truth to like how secure things are, but you are still ultimately trusting them, and you're still making the choice to give your face information, your credit card information, your bank details, whatever it is. So clearly we do at some point make a we defer to convenience and sacrifice security for that. So in some ways, like, I don't really feel that strongly about data stuff. Not always, or at least privacy security stuff. But there is like moments where it's pretty egregious. L says the lens I'm looking at just popped up on Marketplace at around 35 to 40% within pickup range. Okay. But you're done spending for the month. Hey, listen, you got to make choices. I'm currently trying to choose if I should purchase the Osmo Pocket. What is it? The Osmo Pocket 4 Pro for the upcoming live stream, right? So we're making up, we're almost there, by the way, L. So I think I've locked in the dates for when the live stream will happen. So we're looking at mid-November. Mid-November, I'll be staying at, actually, let's look it up together. It's a beautiful camp. Asilia, Africa. So as a quick reminder, Asilia Africa is a company that I've worked with in the past. I also did the training workshop that we're looking at the photos of from Tanzania. So amazing company. I've really enjoyed they put a lot of emphasis on conservation efforts, on working with local communities, making sure they are like top-notch quality. So I think I'm a big fan of that kind of model. It's like, you know, they work in a very luxury space, so it's definitely not like a cheap experience, but they make sure that they're working with the proper entities to not feel intrusive. Like, what brand was it? I think it was Marriott. They opened up a lodge in Kenya fairly recently, and it made the headlines because a lot of backlash to it. Because I think the way they went about it, they didn't break any rules per se, but they kind of just like bulldozed their way in as a big brand into the space that didn't come off very nice or like with the locals in mind. These guys don't do that, and I really appreciate that. Anyways, so Asilia, Africa, there is, which one is it? Naboisho Camp. This is the camp, most likely, it seems like, that I'll be spending 5 nights with. Shout out to Swiss Army Cinema. I'll be having a chat with him later, who it sounds like he should be able to join me, and we'll be able to, you know, test out this live stream together, create some content, you know, hopefully make this work out. But L says 2,500 instead of the usual 6,500. That is a big drop. That's, I mean, that's hard to pass up, you know, even if it comes to reselling it, that's a good steal. But it also, it makes you question why the big drop. There might be something wrong with the item, for example. Maybe there's something the seller is not advertising in terms of, oh, well, technically it's broken, or, you know, we had to get it fixed a few too many times, but, you know, it's, trust me, bro. So yeah, this is in a conservancy. It's called Naboisho Camp. It is like an incredible place. I mean, man, it just looks, it is one of their top, I think it is like their flagship in Kenya, if I'm not mistaken. But talk about like just full on pristine. Like, what an experience. Now my goal, my purpose going here is not to necessarily just be, you know, living a 5-star resort life. Obviously I'm here because I'm trying to do the live streams. We're trying to go out into the wild, but I am kind of excited that this gets to be the place I test this out. So hopefully it'll go over well. So there's a lot of preparation obviously that I want to do to make sure it goes well. As part of that is just getting all the tech stuff put together. So thanks to Cyronius, he mentioned that he's been helping me put together like that travel IRL kits so that I could actually do some streams with the Bella box and blah, blah, blah. And then separately, I'm trying to figure out how to procure the Starlink so that we could rig it up to the Jeep during the drives, as well as I've got my video switcher and some other things being built out here in Dubai. So once we put it all together, and then hopefully I can receive it all a month beforehand, and I want to start doing some testing with it, see what works, what doesn't. And then I got to build my OBS back up so that it's ready for this, because I'll be remotely streaming from home. So the stream will happen in Dubai while I'm in Kenya. But yeah, point is, look at this place, man. So the goal is that, you know, I go out in the Jeeps, we'll be doing the live streams, and then I'll do like an evening stream from, let's assume for now, like let's say this is the tent that I'm staying in, right? So I'll be here with Swiss Army Cinema. And so imagine the two of us, we're like chilling here. I'll probably end up having to set up my computer over on one of the desks, light it up properly, turn on the camera, and then yeah, I'll be able to do like a lodge evening stream every night. And then in the morning and afternoon, we do the going out on the Jeeps for the drive streams. So I'm very excited for this. And then there's a possibility, fingers crossed, but maybe we could also do a hot air balloon live stream, which is like, come on, you know, how do you pass that up? Because I think this is one of the locations where you can go do a hot air balloon. So yeah, you can see these hot air balloons. So if possible, it'd be interesting if I can do like a setup, rig up the hot air balloon so that we could stream as we're going up in the air, and then you know, film the wildlife below us. So anyways, I'm very looking forward to this. Right now we're looking at like mid-November to be able to go out and do this pilot. If this pilot goes over well, and I have no reason to believe it won't, the main focus of this pilot is not necessarily about viewership or getting like whatever the best content. You hope that will come about regardless. But the point of this one is mainly just to test that the technology works. Are you able to rig up a Jeep easily with multiple cameras? Can I have, you know, the right, is there any interference with like how my cameras are being picked up on the stream? Any issues with network? Am I able to reliably stream multiple cameras onto multiple platforms without issues? How's the audio? Like, is everything working in terms of hearing the stream effectively or throughout? How bumpy, how stable is the footage? If we're on this super bumpy drive, does the shots end up kind of looking terrible and not worth watching? You know, there's like so many things for sure that on paper it should be fine, but in practice, so many things can go wrong. So that's the focus for this stream. And then let's say if most of it pans out, it's like, oh shoot, you know, like especially in Kenya, we were able to, even with cell coverage, we were able to have a really good connection. We got to, you know, live stream the lions and the leopards and all that kind of stuff. Great. And oh, the other things, nothing broke down. It's easy to rig it up. We can use these types of cameras. Boom, boom, boom. If that all is a green light, then my hope is I can then showcase this to Nikon. I can showcase this to, you know, well, obviously report back to Asilia and be like, okay, here's the results. Now, if we put some more muscle behind this, if I were to try to get a sponsor, right? If we can actually sponsor this trip with like certain camera gears. So let's imagine again, Nikon is the one. And we can make this a bigger thing because we've got the proof point. I've got the case study. It's not something that's a little bit more like out there or like, oh yeah, someone else has done something like this before. It's like, I can prove I've done this before. I can, and here's the results that I got with my cameras this way. Once that is secured, I think a lot more opportunities should open up. And my goal is like to do this consistently. I would love to be able to take you guys with me in the wild. Whether it's these Jeep safaris or even in Uganda, right? When I'm doing like the boat safaris for the shoe bills or the elephants or other locations, I want to take you guys with me. So that is the biggest, it's a big milestone we're coming up on. So I've got we're mid-August, September, October. October, I'm taking a couple with me to Uganda for a few weeks. So I only have like part of October to prepare. So point is, we've got about 2 to 3 months to make sure everything works and that I have all the tech, which sounds like a lot of time, but really it isn't. So yeah, fingers crossed. So that's the big thing. In the meantime, obviously I'm working through all my photos and videos and stuff. So I am working on episode 3 and episode 4 of my travel series. You might have seen, and I hope you guys check out. I think it's pinned on all the chats. I've just released my latest YouTube video about the 85mm lens. And then I'll be working on the next video. I don't know when it'll drop, but I've been wrapping up another one on the 35mm lens. And I've been more consistent now. I've been publishing a few Instagram reels that, you know, let me know what you think about them. I'm trying to do a new series to get National Geographic's attention, so we'll see if that works. Elle says, I bet you would love seeing Lily Vildemos. I probably pronounced that wrong. I bet you'd love seeing Lily Vildemos once again, even though there's basically only big animal activity around dusk and dawn. Daytime is mainly birds. What is this word you are typing in here? Hold on. I can't even read that. Lily Vildemos. Jesus Christ, don't make me say this word again. LV. LV is Denmark's largest protected land area. 7,600 hectares of wild nature. It's a 30-minute drive. Okay. Large animals. What do we got? Moose. Ooh, I would love to photograph and film moose. Red deer, wild boars, okay. Golden eagles, white-tailed eagles, and cranes. Okay. All right. I've never photographed moose before. I feel like you should call it meese. I've never photographed meese before, so that's on my list, especially when their horns are like, you know, protruding. I would love to see a moose fighting a bear. That's on the list. Okay. Basically translated to small march, says L, or marsh. Marsh. Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, I gotta put this... Well, thanks for the suggestion. Sounds like a place I would enjoy. So as I think about... I was putting a pause a little bit to some of the travels because I've got too much stuff to catch up on. But, yeah. Let's think about that. Horns, they're antlers. I always mix up those two words. Horns, antlers, smantlers. Okay. Guys, I think this is where I'm gonna take a break from the stream. I have to do some work after. I have to catch up with some people. So this feels like a good clean break because I finished reviewing all of my photos, and then either on stream or later I'm going to review all the other photos from the guides, put it all together. So then hopefully by the next stream, we'll actually start getting into the edits, right? So today was still more of the organizational step. I was just kind of seeing which photos need to be highlighted or bookmarked to further edits. Next time, we're going to start actually, you know, getting through them. So look forward to that. In the meantime, it is Thursday. I'm not streaming tomorrow or Saturday. My hope is I might be able to release my next YouTube video over the weekend. So yeah, check out my one that I just released, and then I hope you stay tuned for the next one. And then I've got several other videos coming up as well. Anywho, thank you guys. I appreciate the time. I hope you guys enjoy the weekend. Do fun stuff. If you're a photographer, go out there and shoot cool things. Why not, you know? And then make sure to subscribe to my channel, follow my stuff, watch my videos, all of the things. L, thanks for being here at the end. I hope you have a good rest of your weekend. I say weekend because Thursday is kind of like when I end the stream, so that's how I feel about it. L says I got a concert tomorrow night. Yeah, so best of luck to you in terms of getting some really epic shots throughout the concert. Let me know if you end up purchasing that one gear that you mentioned is like a third the cost of what it usually is, which is kind of crazy. And you're off today. Gotcha. Cool. Are my cats here? I can hear one of them was... Oh, my cat is right below me. Let me see if I can snag him and put him on screen. Hold on. Yeah, Nala is looking down at him right now. This is usually a hard task because the moment I start moving, my cat runs away if he suspects something's about to happen. So Kimbap is just right down there. He's looking at my finger. He knows something's up. Boo, 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 boo. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Got him. Got his ass. This guy. He hasn't been here all stream. He was here yesterday hanging out with us, but now we got him back here. He hates being picked up, so at some point he's going to start complaining. But hello, Kimbap. What a good boy. He's not a fat ass anymore. He did lose a lot of weight. I put him on a diet, so. Good boy. Yes. What are you looking at? What's going on there? Yeah. There comes the complaining. You know what? Because I'm going to feed him right as the stream ends. So I'm going to say the magic words, and you're going to see him freak out. Ready? Hey, Kimbap, you hungry? You hungry? He knows the words, so. All right, so let me feed him. L says, today you're off, tomorrow you mean 1424, 2.8, let's go. Oh, well, I mean, obviously that's the Trinity, so that's really cheap for a 14 to 24 f2.8. So I think you should, well, like, you know, usually when things are too good to be true, there must be something, right? So double check, maybe there's something wrong with the lens. It might be beyond repair, you know, something sneaky. But obviously, you're an expert at this. You don't need me to tell you that. So, all right, guys, I appreciate the stream. Happy Thursday. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And I'll see you guys on Sunday. So